Hey, everybody. Shout out to my main mod, Vanessa. Shout out to everybody in the room. We are going to have a serious conversation, a conversation that has been long overdue. I may not look it, but I'm 47 years old, 47, born in 1973. And I'm a Gen Xer. And so I was born at a time when I think, well, it wasn't, the 70s wasn't where it was really bad yet, but it, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, the out of wedlock rate went nuts. Like, it just was prolific to the point where it was not even, it didn't even really raise that many eyebrows, not in the church, not, everybody was doing it. When I was in high school, it was quite normal for one or two people to fall pregnant. And it was mainly the Black girls that would have the babies. The other races of women, they had them too, but it was at a definitely lesser degree. And they dealt with things a little bit differently. They dealt with their pregnancies differently. And during that time, there was this narration that you can be mother and father. I can be mother and father to my child. I don't need no man. And that was kind of off the heels of the sexual revolution. It was the women's movement, and there were more women going into the workplace. There was more women going to college. But those women going to college and in the workplace weren't the ones having the babies. Like, it was people who just went to high school and decided that they were going to use being a baby mama as their career track. Now, I have to be honest, because I was there. I was there and I saw it. I actually had a friend, I can't say her name because it's not rare enough, but every guy she dated, she had a baby by. Every single one of them. By the time she was, I don't know, when we were, 18, 19, she'd already had 3 kids. She would have had 4 if, well, a couple babies died. A couple babies died. It was a mess. It was a mess. And I gotta be honest, a lot of the anger that you see from particularly Black men online is them being raised solely by their moms, and their moms struggling, doing the best they could. Some of them probably weren't doing the best that they could. And so there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger there. And I get it, because I saw some stuff that was just, I remember one friend, she's a grandmother now. She's actually a year older than me, but she was a grandmother when we were like, I want to say 30 something. She was a grandmother already. And she was also another one that had a baby by virtually every guy she dated. It was a mess. And the thing that was, thank you, Ubiquity, and shout out to my other mod, Ubiquity. They would, I mean, this is how the pattern would go. The pattern would go, they would get with a guy, you know, it would seem serious. They were doing well for a little bit. She would get pregnant. They'd be there a little bit, but then would fall off. And they were left with raising the kids, but with every child, because the way that I don't know, can somebody tell me how the welfare system is now? But when it was back then, for every child you had, you got more money. And so there were young mothers who were making like, you know, a few $1,000s a month off of each child. Plus there was Section 8. And so you could like, and in the town where I lived, you could get Section 8 in really nice places, like really nice places. And so it was like this incentive to, you know, kind of go down that route. It was, you know, it's like, oh, I have this biological function that can make me money. And so I have to be honest with you, like that was a big deal. That was a big deal. But there were like other things, and I feel like the mothers during that time didn't necessarily tell young girls how freaking hard it is to raise a child by yourself. In fact, I think that even some of them probably did that deliberately. And so we have this generation of young, particularly Black women. I can't speak for other communities. I can only speak as a Black woman on this issue. You have generations of girls who've never seen men in the home, which makes it really hard to then relate as like a married person. And marriage isn't even on the table. But there were other things, and so that's kind of like the main thing that I think that older generations really didn't do a good job of telling younger women like how hard it was. and like really being offended if anybody said, do you really think this is a good idea to have, you know, all these kids? I remember when I did No Wedding, No Womb back in 2010, it went viral. I got so much hate for that. People were so offended by that. Now the tide has changed and people are, yeah, that just makes good common sense. Yeah, you shouldn't. And now single mothers are being like dragged all over the internet, from one end of the internet to the other end of the internet. But when I said something, it was, how dare you? How dare you say that? And this is coming from somebody who was a single mom. I mean, I wasn't a teen mom. I was approaching 25, but it was still hard. And I still wasn't married. And I still had to, for a short period of time, I had to go on WIC and welfare. And that was not fun for me. And I was like, you know what? This is not working. I'm not gonna do this again, because, and then I don't want like a parade of different dudes like coming in and like my child seeing that and being confused, like, who is this guy? So that's one thing that I would say the older generations of women, like, you know, perhaps my generation wasn't really honest about that. But there's so many other things. Like I get so many notes from young girls that say that they weren't talked to about sex. I wasn't talked to about sex. The conversation that I had was, don't do it. You know, she tried to scare me. My mom tried to scare me and say, it's like a knife going inside you. It's awful. But this was like, I don't know, it's like 11 or 12. And here's the problem with that, is that you can't tell me stuff like that. Like, you can't tell me that when we have HBO and Cinemax, and I'm seeing these simulated sex scenes, and these women don't look like, they look like they're enjoying themselves. They don't look like they're being stabbed repeatedly in the nether regions. Like, but can you imagine if I had like a weaker mind and I believed her, like what kind of hangups would I have had about sex? But that was the conversation. And here's the thing about that. It made me not trust my mother. I was like, this is such a clear lie about something that is really important. And I can't trust you to tell me the truth. Then if I can't trust you on this, I can't trust you on anything. And so whether my mom gave me good advice or bad advice, I just didn't listen to her. I didn't listen to anything that she said because I didn't trust her. I didn't trust her. You guys, I'm going to share the Zoom link because I want to talk about this. I want older women, younger women, I want us to have a conversation about how you might have felt like the older generation failed you, didn't give you good advice. Another issue that I think older generations failed, particularly Black women, was not instilling in them that they had to sort of struggle in relationships, and that like the only real kind of love is like this drama filled, this insecurity, constantly having to fight for a person, like all of that. I feel like that was something that was taught, and really sort of encouraging us to see what else was out there, especially when Black women knew that there was a shortage, knew that, you know, how hard it is. There just wasn't that, there wasn't the permission that I feel like many young girls needed so that they could explore alternatives. Leah, I see, is it Leandra? I see you're on camera. And
Sorry about.
you were the first to come. So hi, honey. You look pretty young to me.
Oh, thank you. Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
So
yes.
so tell me, you wanted to join the conversation.
Yeah.
Tell me, how do you feel older generations of women might have failed the younger generations?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm actually 25 years old, live in Virginia Beach. I'm in college, but I feel like my mother definitely failed me 100%, because one, she didn't have a good relationship with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, she doesn't really open up about her past. She doesn't open up about really who she is. And so growing up, she never taught me anything about men. She never taught me anything about getting my period. She never taught me anything about having sex, any of that. So thankfully, I come from a two-parent household, and my father was actually the person that spoke to me about men.
Wow.
But even with that, I even realized that I almost grew up having mommy issues because me and my mom were never able to connect on certain levels. And I would find myself connecting with older women who would take me under their wing because I realized that I had mommy issues. And me and my sister, we have different dads, but you know, we suffered for that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not being taught certain things. And you know, even when it comes to my physical appearance, my mom never taught me how to do my hair. I had to learn a lot about men and relationships, honestly, through YouTube. And now I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I can date. I'm at a healthy weight, and I know what I'm doing, but there was never any knowledge taught. And my mom wonders often, why does my sister make certain decisions? It's because, like, you didn't teach her anything.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't impute any knowledge or any wisdom. So of course, you know, she's going to make certain decisions. And like I said, she's older than me. She's like 36. And since I'm 25, I've had the privilege and the blessing to have YouTube help me. But, you know, she's older than me. So she never got this type of dialogue or these resources. And she, you know, she's a single mom. She got knocked up by so-called Dusty, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to let you know that I have, you know, I was affected by that, but I am an overcomer and I'm doing good in my life. I'm doing good for myself.
I'm so glad to hear it. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
It boggles really boggles my mind. I have a similar period story. When I got my period, I was almost 12, and I remember this like it was yesterday. It was in June, a month before my period. I mean, a month before my birthday, and it was almost time for school to be out. And you know how like the first time you bleed, it's not bright red. It's like a little brown, like old blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went home and I showed my mother, Mom, like this is, you know, I went to use the bathroom and this was, you know, on my panties. And she said, oh, you just didn't wipe yourself good.
Oh,
Go, clean yourself and put some new panties on.
wow.
A few hours later,
Mhm.
I showed it to her again. I was like, I didn't do number 2. So what is this? Oh, I guess you started your period then. And it
Wow.
was just, that was it.
Yeah.
I think my dad got me my first box of Maxi Thins.
Mhm.
Put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember Maxi Thins. And so that was it. Like, there was no conversation about like what it means, and like
Mhm.
and how it's important to know when your cycle comes.
Mhm.
She did mention that, but it was more so like, you need to know when your cycle comes, so you're not in school with some white jeans on, and then you get up and there it is.
Yeah.
She even told me, because I wanted to wear tampons. My other friends were wearing tampons, and I wanted to wear tampons. I didn't want to wear this thing that felt like a diaper. And so I said, Mom, I want to wear tampons. And she said, only something to the effect of like, only whores wear tampons. Like, if you put a tampon in, then you're not like a virgin,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And she was just like, why would you want to stick something up you? You know what I mean? Just that, like,
Mhm.
sort of the old school thing. And so I think as a response, like, whenever I have 3 daughters, whenever they had their first period, like, we would celebrate it. And I would say, oh, this is a great thing. Like, do you understand why you're getting a period? And here's the thing. It's teenagers or adolescents, whatever, y'all don't always want to have those conversations with us.
But it's
I mean,
necessary.
it can sometimes make you uncomfortable. But I felt like I need to have the conversation that I should have had, because a key thing that would have been very helpful, because the internet didn't exist when I was growing up, was if she would have said, you know what, there are times in your cycle where you can get pregnant. Like, the reason why you have this cycle, and sit down with me, because I'm the type of person that's like, okay, if I know why something is occurring and why I need to be careful, then because it makes logical sense to me, then I'll do it, right? But if you just tell me, don't do it, or do this, don't do that, and you just say, just because I said so, that doesn't work with me. So, like, it would have been nice if there said, okay, you know what, there's a time. So what happens is that you have ovaries, and then there's an egg that drops, and the egg is there for a couple of days. And if it's fertilized, that means that you're going to have a baby. If the egg doesn't get fertilized, the lining and everything, the little nest that your body so beautifully makes, to house that little baby and keep it safe until it's born, it will shed and clean itself out every month. And that's why you have a period. You have a period because you don't have a baby inside of you. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
something simple like that. And so,
Yeah.
like, my kids, my girls, they roll their eyes, but it's like, that would have been a conversation
Right.
that I would have appreciated my mother
Mhm.
having to me, instead of like just saying, oh, you started a period, and then like have this awkward request for my dad, who was like, 50 years old when I was born. So he was like 62 years old. I have to tell my dad, can you get me some pads? Because she didn't even want to go. She didn't even want to go. Like,
Wow.
why wouldn't she go with me to give me my very first pads. Like that would have been something I would have remembered instead of making me feel like it was something dirty or something to be ashamed of, or something even that she was upset about. Cause I kind of felt like she felt some kind of way.
Yeah.
Super chat from Jay says, coming of age is celebrated in every culture except the Black community. Other women are allowed to be feminine except Black women. I think that there's something to that. Like they make our sexuality and our coming into our womanhood something ugly. So thank you, Leah. How do you pronounce your name? Liza? That's beautiful. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to bump you off so that I can get some other people in here. Yes, goodbye. Okay. Is it Tiani or Tanai? Tanai? All right. Tonight you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maureen?
Hello.
Hi, Maureen. You're up.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? See me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Hi,
Okay.
honey.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
So I watch you all the time. Thanks so much for all the help that you like give Black women. I am 32.
Oh my gosh, you guys, doesn't she look like 17? Oh my gosh, melanin is magic, man. Absolute magic. Wow.
You're talking.
Thank you.
But this was a thing also too. I had a problem with my mom growing up. I was a very quiet child, but I was a bit more interested in things that maybe my mother might have been afraid were weird. So she would get really mad at me I never did anything wrong, exactly, you know?
So give me an example of her getting annoyed or miffed by your interests.
Okay, so I was very intelligent. I was the top of my class. I made sure I had all the best grades. I always came home on time. I wasn't going out with any friends or anything like that. But let's say I would wear a color that was too bright. For example, I'd be completely covered, but let's say I'd wear colored tights. And then she'd say things like, people would think you're a prostitute or something like that. And to me, I didn't.
So what color tights?
Green, red, anything that wasn't the normal, let's say black tights or the petticoats. And, there are certain ways you'd had to dress. This was 90s, 2000s in Nigeria too as well. Mm-hmm. So it's, even though my parents were liberal in a sense, so they let us read, they let us watch programs. We went for extracurricular activities and after school clubs. So they were good in that way, but at the same time, they didn't give us any personal one-on-one parental information. Everything that I know, I learned by myself from reading. I really loved to read, but I couldn't then ask my parents things you didn't understand from reading. If you questioned them, they wouldn't answer you.
So you would ask them a question like, where do babies come from? And
exactly. And what they're telling you doesn't make any sense. And as a young child, I realized that adults were just not going to tell me anything. And then that's when you then start going out and trying to find things for yourself. Lucky for me, I was never like put into any really dangerous situations. I didn't have a lot of friends my age, because I just was not interested in the same things that they were. And in that way, I kind of see myself, that's how I avoided all of those things. I ended up having sex in my 20s. It just happened.
That's not really that bad. Did you know what sex was at least by your 20s?
I knew because I was in med school when it happened. It was just it just happened. I panicked like for the whole week after. I went to get a pregnancy test because I was just, the whole thing was just don't get pregnant. My grades, that was just what was important to me. And the relationship I had with my mother, like I said, I never spoke to her about any of this. She tried to talk to me in my 20s about sex. And I didn't know what to say to her because I think she was just still also assuming that I hadn't had sex. It's like I don't know if it was a religious thing or she just assumed that I hadn't had it. And I just didn't talk to her about it. My first boyfriend too, I ended up living with him and I didn't tell my parents until I was about to graduate and they were coming to visit. And I knew they were going to find out then. So I told them then. And I kind of wish I'd been able to speak to my mother about what to look for in a relationship and how to know what a healthy relationship is, because there's certain things that I just assumed. He wasn't cheating and he wasn't hitting me. So
right. So if he doesn't hit you and he doesn't cheat, then he's good.
I didn't think about all the
emotional
But here's the
thing too. So as a mom, and I do have a grown daughter, there are things that she has done that have completely made me blow my top, that I have talked to her about, that I warned her of. There is a time period where you are at this, what Kendall calls an arrogant maiden stage, where you don't want to listen. And so it's like no matter what, anything anything the parent says to you, it's like lame, outdated, you don't know what you're talking about, et cetera, et cetera. And there's times where you just have to be like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna let go of the wheel, and the car's spinning out of control. I just hope that we don't crash into a truck here, but I gotta let go of the wheel. So, there is part of that, but I wonder if, like, what would have been an ideal way that you would have liked your mother to sit down and talk to you? But before you answer that, I just want to say this. You guys, we've got 603 people in here and only 231 likes. We've never had this conversation before. We're having a frank conversation. What did past generations, my generation, the generation before me, the boomers, the Gen Xers, how do you feel we failed you? How do you feel that the information that you had to glean in other places because we didn't tell you, or we might have not told you? Like what are some of those things? So you guys hit the likes. We've got 265, we got 277. Come on, you guys, get the likes up. This is a really important question. And I wanted to move the story along, and just move the queue along because there's people waiting. But just answer me this question before I go to the next one. How would you have liked your mother to have sat with you and spoken with you? Maybe somebody's listening. Heck, I mean, I still got 2 babies at home. So how would you have liked to have heard and gotten that information?
Okay, so I've done a lot of self-reflection in this, and personally, I studied developmental psychology. I've tried to talk to my mother about this too as well, but it's difficult because there's something she doesn't want to admit, and I can't really force her to. But I would have liked if just growing up, we'd had more open and honest communication, like right from childhood. She was trying to make me into a first daughter. If she would just have spoken honestly about your body, relationships, I also feel like seeing it in the house, like seeing it play out between your parents.
Yeah, seeing it modeled.
Exactly. If you saw that model of a healthy relationship, and not being scared to explain what a happy family and a happy relationship is to a child. I don't think there's anything taboo or anything that you can't explain there to a child at any age. And obviously, as they get older, you add a bit more. Obviously, always let you know about like your boundaries, you know, just the
that's a big
general
one.
sexual
That's
education.
That's a big one.
And all of that.
I hope you mothers are soon to be mothers. I hope you guys are listening, and I'm looking at the chat too. And there's a lot of frustration, and rightfully so, because I wasn't taught much of anything. I mean, there were certain things that were modeled to me, but there were certain things that just didn't seem right to me as well. And the thing about in our community is that they don't prepare you, but then when you falter, when you make a mistake, it's all on you. And it's because you're just inherently defective. Like you're inherently a hoe. You're inherently all of these things. You're fast, like all of these things that are put upon us. But it's like nobody's sitting down and talking to us about like how things are going. And then you get to a point when you're a young person where you don't really listen to anything that your parents say. And the shift, because you get to an age where you want to be more independent from your parents and you want to separate yourself. It's a natural thing for young people as they get to be in puberty to separate, to try to find their own identity. And then if you haven't had these conversations prior to that, it's like the blind leading the blind, and you have your child's friends who are telling you how things should be, and they don't know. They don't know any more than your kid is, and they're both like just steering each other off a cliff. So it's like, these things are important. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to move you down from the stage, and I'm going to let someone else go up. But thank you, hun, and thank you for being so candid. I can tell it was something that was really, I can tell that it was something that was hard for you to talk about. So thank you for sharing it.
I understand my mother a lot better now. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next one is it Tanae? If you don't come, I'm gonna go to Ashley, because Tanae, I'm sorry, I know I'm butchering your name, but okay, so Tanae's gone. So we've got Ashley and Essence.
Hello.
Please mute me on YouTube because I can hear myself.
Okay, yeah,
Hi.
sorry.
Essence. Hello.
Hi. So I just want to go ahead and say I'm 23 and I'm a mother now. So I just want to speak on my experience. So I just want to say where I feel like the older generation failed me, like my mother, grandmother, whatever. I want to first talk about mental health because I feel like that's a really big thing. I feel like without going too deep into my situation, I feel like my mother suffered from mental health. I feel like a lot of our parents have or
Oh yes, for
still do.
sure. For sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
So
I know my mother
and
for a fact did. And she's had this overly religious, just
right.
pray it. We'll just pray, pray the crazy
Pray it
away.
away.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and therapy and seeking help was something that white people did, but we're strong, Black people don't do that. Black people don't need therapy. We just need Jesus. Okay.
Right. And it'll all go away.
Yeah. So
And
yeah. So
I'm
tell me,
sorry, go ahead.
walk me through, you're 23, you're a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Was it
So
planned?
what
Was this a planned situation?
well, since I have two children, so I have a daughter now and I have a son. And for my son it was, and for my daughter it was not. But so because I kind of got off track. So I wanted to speak on mental health. So
Okay.
like I said, I feel like a lot of our parents did not have mental health awareness. And I feel like
Oh, she went away. I don't know what happened. I really wanted to ask her, two kids at 23 is a lot. That's a lot of responsibility. I don't know what happened to Essence. Hopefully you can rejoin the conversation because I would like to hear. But to reiterate, I think message is, loud and clear that yes, mental health is something that just recently it's been a serious conversation, not really in the past. Like it used to be a serious stigma. And I know because I was there, it was. Ashley, are you there? If not, I'm gonna have to take you off the stage in 3, 2, 1. Ashley. Okay, I'm gonna remove people. You guys gotta be ready. If you want to go on, be ready to go. Crystal?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Sure. Thanks for joining. How do you feel previous generations failed you? Failed the Black? Look at all these beautiful chocolate girls. Oh my God. You guys are so beautiful. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm just distracted by all this beauty. Go ahead, hun. You want to go on? Go. Make sure you guys need to mute. You guys need to mute me on YouTube, please.
Okay. Well, for me, I grew up in Jamaica, and my mother, she's Indian. My daddy was Black, and she was very traditional. She believed that you should only have one man in your whole lifetime. So she stayed with my daddy even after he cheated, even after he put hands on her. She stayed. And then when I moved here to the US and I got with my kid's father, I saw some toxic behavior, and I felt like, I had to stick it out. I could not leave. I had to stick it out because my mother stayed and she stuck it out. And after a while, I could not.
Okay, I want to just stop you for a second. I just want to stop you just for a second because this is really important. So how old are you again?
I am 29.
Okay, you're 29 and you have a child. How old is your child?
He's 5 years old.
Okay, so about 24, 25.
24. Yes.
Yeah, same age as I was. I had her in January and my birthday was in July. You said kid's father. Were you married, Joan?
No, we weren't
Okay.
married. He
Okay,
did.
so hold it. I
Uh.
just wanted to say this before I'm going to ask you a question, but understand that this is a no judgment zone. I really want us to have open and supportive conversations, because I think that's really the only way that we can get to the root of this, because while there is no condemnation or judgment from me,
yeah,
I was you, and it was extremely hard for me. And I chose not a great guy. He was good on paper, and I think that there on the outside it looked like I'd won the lottery, the Black Love, Hunger Games. I was like the victorious one, but it wasn't like that. So I'm asking you, why, how did it happen? We know the mechanics of how it happened, but how did it happen in this situation with this guy?
So when I moved here, I
where did you move here from?
Jamaica.
Okay.
Jamaica. I moved when I was 22. I worked for a year and I got my own place. I started school at 23. I met him in college, and he pursued me, but I was not used to being an American man and all of that. So he found out where I was working. He started working there and he kept pursuing me. So I gave him a chance. And before, my mother is very strict. I could only sit on the porch and speak to my boyfriend. I could not go out on dates or anything. So when I moved here, when I gave him a chance, stuff went fast really quickly, and I got pregnant really quickly. Like,
and what was his reaction when you told him you were pregnant?
He was happy. He was happy. And
now so back up. Was he in college also?
Yes, he was. He was in college.
So you met him in college. Was he your first? Like, were you a virgin?
No, I wasn't a virgin.
Okay, but you weren't very, like, you weren't out here wilding out, right? You were just
no,
a normal college student, right?
Yes. And after I got pregnant, he started skipping school. He wouldn't keep a job. He said people were hating on him because he looked good, and he lost his job, and things just went downhill from there. And
so did he lose? He said he lost his job because people were looking at him.
He said the manager was hating on him because he looked better than him. Because he's a good-looking guy. He's very handsome, and he said the manager was hating on him, so he lost the job, and that happened multiple times.
Wait, hun. Hold on. One time, I'll buy it.
Okay.
But if every job this man goes on, he's getting booted out because he's just so gorgeous and everybody's so threatened, side-eyeing that a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
So he couldn't keep a job, which is scary, right? Because you're like, you want to make it work, and you're like, gosh, I mean, if he can't keep a job, he can't be a provider. So what was going on in your head?
I felt like I had to do it because that's what I saw my mother do. I felt like I had to, pick up the slack, and I was doing it for a while, and it was wearing me down. And one day I saw a text message in his phone from some girl about going to the movies, and I'm like, what's going on? We have a child to raise. What's going on? And he's like, oh, she has 3 kids and she's gonna get a lot of tax money. I'm trying to get her tax money, and I'm like, I'm out here busting my ass to pay these bills, and this is your way of making money. And I left the next.
Oh my God. Wait,
The least
okay.
was
So we got a super chat, but I gotta just wait. I can't let this go. So we have, you guys, I don't have my glasses on. So I'm just gonna say, it looks like me, Sheen, I don't know, $4.99 super chat. Thanks for having me on the chat. Oh, my mother is still holding on to her toxic marriage effects and how I see relationships. Pink pill has upped my dating game. And speaking of pink pills, for all of you guys who are watching, I want you guys to put a 1 if you guys have taken one of my courses. If you guys have experienced one of my courses, I want to see the 1 in the chat. I want to see how many of you guys have actually taken any of the courses. Okay, so while we're doing that, we'll get back to that. But what do you think it was about what you weren't taught from your mother that maybe made you vulnerable? Whoa, look at all these people who got the courses. Wow. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is tell other people who didn't put the ones why you liked it. And for those who are watching, go to getpinkpill.com and see why I have so many listeners who have taken my courses. I'm sorry to distract, but we're running a business here too.
okay, that's fine.
So what was it that your mother didn't tell you, or did tell you, or showed you, or didn't show you, that you felt made you vulnerable for that?
When I was in Jamaica and I had a boyfriend, we were both in high school, and she was like, oh, it doesn't matter if he doesn't have any money, you guys can work together. If he doesn't have it, you can help him out. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's just what really affected how I dealt with relationship is what I saw her do in her relationship with my father.
So what you saw was struggle.
Yes.
And that's how it should be. Like, relationships aren't supposed to be drama free, and it's not supposed to be smooth sailing. Like, it's natural to be in a struggle situation.
Yes.
And okay, so you left, okay, because he was a dusty, right?
Yes. Yes,
he was a dusty.
It was just too much for me.
So what have you done to course correct? Like, what? Because I had my child the same age as you when I was also in college. So what enlightenment have you gotten from your situation? Tell me really quickly, because we got people waiting.
I've been watching your videos. I've been listening to other people on YouTube. I started seeing a therapist because I didn't think that was important, but I've come to realize that is important. Yes, and I've made standards for myself, and I just won't waver.
Right, exactly. And here's another thing too. Understand this. There's going to be men who you will encounter who having a child is a deal breaker because they want to start their own family. I don't want you to take that personally. That is, that's the ideal, and so that's natural. But I will also want to tell you this. There are many, 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 many men of all races who are open to blended families. I got married after I had my child. I see it all the time. I see women who have multiple children marry nice guys, quality men. I mentioned that last week, that and her testimony is in the Pink Pill. She was a blogger. She had 3 kids out of wedlock. You know, they were all by the same guy, but 3 kids. And a man was reading her blog and kept asking her out, and she wasn't paying him any really much attention to him. But finally, she just, after a while, because he kind of wore her down and was charming and whatever, and they met, and she found out that he was like the heir to like this German company that does all the crown molding and everything, like this really old company. All of her children, and listen, I'm not trying to fill your head with magical thinking. Like, this is definitely an exception, but all 3 of her children, their college paid. He paid for everything. They have trust funds. He was like, what's your mother's financial situation? Why do you want to know my mother's financial situation? Because we're together. I want to make sure she's taken care of. So he sets the grandma, he sets up mother-in-law. Like these men exist. Like, and you know, like I said, I didn't like marry an heir, but my kids have trust funds too. I'm not saying go out there and be reckless. I'm just saying don't go out there and be hopeless. Don't go out there expecting everything, but don't go out there being hopeless, because I don't want you guys to have this mentality that because you have a child that you should accept all kinds of things. Because I'm hearing all kinds of nonsense online. The entitlement that other men have, that if you have a child, which is like the evidence of not choosing well, and if you let this guy, then why won't you let me? This is, you know, it's kind of like, well, if you're not a virgin and you let the other guy hit it, well, then why won't you let me? It's just this sick male entitlement that's disgusting. And so I don't want you guys doing that, because again, you know, kids need to be protected. And I'm, you know, that's really important, but I want you to I'm, you know, good for you that you knew enough, Crystal, to just not continue with that. But let me tell you something. If a guy keeps getting fired because he says he just looks so good, and if a guy is saying, oh, I'm just talking to this girl because she got 3 kids and I want to get her tax money, that man is a user. He's a narcissist. And you know, does he have any kind of relationship with your child?
He calls, and his mother acts as the middle person. So when he wants to see his son, he'll tell his mother. His mother will contact me, and I'll let her pick him up, and that's how he see his son.
And what's the frequency of that?
It'll be like once or twice a month.
See if you can get him to give up custody. Seriously, I don't know. I mean, maybe you can try again and get the child adopted. I don't know. I mean, that's not, does he pay any child support? Does he take care of the child?
No, he doesn't pay child support.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna just be honest with you. I would try to see if, like if you do meet someone, but sometimes men like that are so selfish and self-centered, and their egos are involved. But, you know, he's not a very involved father, which actually, you know, if he's not going to cause problems, that actually can be the entry. I know that I've had people who've written to me and said that their child's father wasn't very active, and so they met someone, and the father was like, okay, I'll give up my rights and allow for the child to be adopted. I don't know. I mean, he sounds like a loser. He does. He sounds like a real loser. But Crystal, I wish you the best. I'm glad you're healing. And again, I don't want you going out there dating hopeless. Do not, because I don't want this to happen to you again. Make sure you got that womb and those ovaries locked down until you're in a marriage that's committed, so that you can get the support that you need. But thank you for joining. I'm going to go ahead and move on. And thank you for listening, and thank you for I'm grateful that I can be of value to you, hon. And write me sometime. Let me know how you're doing.
Okay,
I was in your exact same spot. Okay, all right. So let's go to, is it Prima? Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, good night, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi. And then we're going to have, is it Ashay? The little girl out of here. You look like a little girl. You might be 50, knowing us.
It's Ajay, and I'm
Ajay.
actually 24.
Oh my gosh, you look, I thought you were like 15.
Oh, well, thank you.
So we'll go to Prima and then we'll go to Ajay. So Prima, what would you like to say? How do you think the older generations failed?
I can definitely relate to the menstrual cycle thing and the mental health of sex. And then also I can also relate to what I believe her name was Crystal was saying, because I'm first generation here. So literally everyone before me is from the West Indies. And I'll start with like the menstrual. I remember getting my menstrual, it was on a Sunday. And now from what I know, obviously having my menstrual for so long, I realized that my mom didn't educate me on like how heavy my cycle can be. And many of times I would be in school, in middle school, you know, I got it at 11 and I would,
and then it would be all over, and it's so embarrassing. Oh, it's humiliating.
I would have to like tie my jacket around my waist at the end of the day. And I think that's just plain ignorance, I think, on her part. Not, you know, I'm not faulting her for it, but it's ignorance, because thinking that, oh, well, she's young, so, you know, her menstrual can't be that heavy. And then like, I'm not supplied enough, or like taught, okay, go to the bathroom every 2 hours and, you know, make sure that you change out because I see your menstruals a little heavy. So with that comes with a lot of embarrassment, a lot of like, you lose a lot of self-confidence, and then you're in school with boys.
Yes.
You know?
And they're brutal when it comes to that.
They're very brutal because they have ignorance on their part. They're not taught by their parents, okay, when you see young girls, if they have a little mistake, don't shame them for it.
Don't shame them for it. I have a horrifying story, an absolutely horrifying story that I have to share. So there was this boy, let's just call him K, and I had a crush on him. I liked him a lot. And we were in class together once, and he said, you know, I notice that you usually don't bring a purse to school, but you only bring a purse on certain days of the month.
No, he didn't.
Are those the days that you're on the rag? I could have crawled under the desk, because he was absolutely right. I didn't bring a purse. I only brought a purse to put my pads in. And he noticed that, and he confronted me on it. I was so humiliated. So yeah, boys can be awful about that stuff. Absolutely awful.
Yeah, it's a mess. And I think when it comes to young girls that do have heavier menstrual cycles, I think also just being open to other options like tampons. Tampons help extremely with women who have heavier flows.
Exactly. And you double up. You take you use super tampon, and you use the always wrap around, especially on the second day when it's like a gush. Yes.
So being that now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, wow, like certain simple things could have been avoided had she just like observed me more and realized that I needed extra reinforcement rather than just thinking like, oh, well, she's a girl, I just give her a couple pads and she knows what to do.
Right.
I don't know what to do. I'm still a child at 11,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
And the second thing I wanted to touch base on was mental health. I do feel like
Mm-hmm.
the live that you did with that doctor, it was a gentleman, and I cannot remember his name, and he broke down all the drugs in our body.
Yeah,
And
Dr. Sims. We're gonna
yeah,
have him on again. We're gonna have him on again.
I need to see him again because
Yes, he's
the
coming
way
back.
he broke down the chemistry of sex, I promise you, that would have been the perfect sex source to like keep me a virgin forever.
Yes, exactly. I wish somebody would have told me like, here's what's going to happen. Because it's like, it depends on, you know, everybody's different. But if I would have had that talk, if somebody would have talked to me, I'd be like, oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, I would have been like, oh, this is not love. This is not
Yes, this isn't
just
love.
my chemical
Exactly.
reaction. You know, just like I'm reacting off of the flattery you're giving me. Like
yes, the flattery, the you kiss me, the testosterone is coming into my body. It's causing things to engorge and you know, juice flow. Yes, it would have been helpful. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that if I learned it that way, then I would have made just like better choice at who I got into a relationship with, because now that goes into what the young lady Crystal just went through, you know, seeing my mom in a horrible relationship, and she's still married to this guy, and he did not like me at all.
Okay, so this guy is your stepfather.
He's my stepfather.
Okay.
And he didn't like me at all because I'm dark. And it's so funny because my mom is the same. Yeah. And
okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did he see you before he married your mother?
Yeah, I was 2 years old. And
is your mother the same color as you?
So
why did he marry her if he didn't like dark women?
I think later on I realized the reason why is because a lot of West Indian men, they have a server, like they want to marry a server. Want to marry women that serve them. So I think it's easier. Yeah.
Many men
they
do that.
pick the dark-skinned women because they're like, I'm just grateful to have a husband, but they don't really like you like that, but they want to have they want to have like the house slave.
Yeah. And it worked out in his favor because, you know, I mean, she's still with him, but it's so weird because I would catch him so many times like cheating. Like I would catch him in like the street with like other women. I would tell my mom like he's cheating, and she would just be like, well, what do you want me to do? That's how relationships are. Like she would literally
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yes. And then
which is
I
sad.
remember one time, because he's not too literate in phones, so one time he passed me his phone to fix it, and as I fixed like his Wi-Fi, everything started loading up and Backpage opened up, and I told my mom, and I was like, you guys
know what Backpage is? For those of you who don't know what Backpage is, it's like a place where people like hook up with sex workers.
Yep. So when I told her about this, she was just like, oh well I mean, I ain't studying that. That's what she told me. I ain't studying that. And I was like,
okay, so did you ask her, Mom, do you know that you're making yourself vulnerable to your health is at risk if he's not being careful? Like, do you care about your health?
Yeah, both.
And what did she say?
Like me and my little sister like confronted my mom on it. And that's actually her dad. And like they have a horrible relationship. So my sister like has no problem like telling my mom like, yo, like he's a horrible person. Like, why are you still with him? And she would just be like, oh, I'm not studying that. You know, like she pretty much would just push it aside because in her mind, if he pays like rent, well, now they own a house together, whatever, like, then she don't care. So, and I find it so weird because it's like, it's not even like she could really depend on him fully. Like she still had to like work majority, like literally the entire relationship. And she still had to pull like 50-50 weight. So literally like whatever he was making, he was out just spending it on other women and just like dating other women.
Okay. So he's cheating on her. He's abusive to his daughters and colorist. She has to pay 50-50. She knows about his cheating, accepts his cheating. You know what? Ask her this question.
Mhm.
Ask her this. If you guys ever have this conversation again, ask her this question. Would you want me to marry a man like that?
Oh, it's getting there. So
I mean, just like, so did you ask her, like, would you want me to walk down the aisle with a man like your husband?
It's getting there. I actually got my answer already. So I was in a relationship with the guy I lost my virginity to for like 6 years. Okay. And before that, like we weren't really high school sweethearts, but he always had a crush on me in high school. And then at 19, I got with him. And I remember like the relationship took a turn like after about maybe 4 years, and he really showed himself. We were living together, so he just showed himself, and he became like super aggressive, super abusive. And I remember like leaving the house, I was like crying, telling my mom like, oh, I want to come back home. And she was just like, oh, I don't know why you want to come back home for, like, you in a relationship, that's what grown people deal with. So I already got my answer. I'm not in a relationship no more, obviously, but I already got my answer. And I realized that a lot of my friends, because we're all like West Indian, a lot of my friends went through the same things, dealing with mothers that were in abusive relationships, and they would hold on to it because in their mind, it was more of a prize to like have a husband rather than be single.
And that's what that was where I was getting to with the last video that I did, you guys, the upload that I did earlier this week about the allegory of like being in a village of starving people with only one baker and not enough bread to go around. And you know, in the next town, there's potential for all of this bounty of food. Would you stay or would you go? And this is what I feel like the scarcity mindset does to us as Black women, is that it makes us feel like this is just the way things are. And this is just how, you know, how it is. If you're not happy, if you're miserable, because let me tell you something, you know, and this is not to say that this is with every situation, but I have friends, you know, that are all different races, and they'll get married, doesn't work out, find out the guy is this or that and the other, they'll get a divorce, they'll get married, they'll get married like that. A couple years later, they get married again. It says your favorite persuasion. I'm West Indian too. The mothers born in the 60s just sweep it under the rug.
Yes.
They will separate for years before they divorce. My mother didn't leave. I mean, I would like to get it to the point where we don't have to leave, that we know to expect more, and have certain expectations so that we don't feel happy just to have a man, you know?
Yeah. And I noticed that it's literally
sorry, it's driving me crazy. Hold on. Okay, I got it.
Okay. And another thing I noticed is that it's literally like a lineage of this cycle.
Yes, it's generational.
Because I even look at my grandmother. My grandmother, I love her. She's an OG, but even with her, I never actually acknowledged that the man who is the father of one of her kids, her youngest, like whenever I would go over there, he was always in a separate room. Like they have a child together, but they sleep in separate rooms. Like he has a car, but she takes the bus. And I never realized how deep the way the women in my family date went until I obviously became a woman, and I was like, this feels awful. Like I don't want to be cheated on. I don't want to be beat on. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to do any of these things. Like, it feels unnatural. And I think because I kept saying it feels unnatural for me to feel it, feels unnatural for me to see my mom go through it. And whenever I spoke up, then there's oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This is how life is. And in my mind, I'm like, am I going crazy? Like,
yeah, no, it is, because it is a certain reality, and in a way they're right, because in the reality that they live, their worldview, that is the way it is. It's almost like, I don't know, like, it's almost like, I don't know, like you're in some like war-torn third world country. You know what I mean? Where it's just like every day is like, you don't know if you're gonna live to the end of the day. You don't know, you can't go to school because you're a girl. You might like, it's just like, it's almost like this Stone Age kind of oppressive kind of thing towards the women. It's awful, but I'm glad that you said this didn't feel right. Continue to have that mentality that this doesn't feel right, because it isn't right, and there is more. And maybe with all of us coming together and sharing our stories, we can help each other and nurture each other to make different and better choices, because this ain't it. That ain't it. I'd rather be alone than deal with something like that. I would rather be by myself. A man and a penis is just not that important to me, that I would, that I just would rather be by myself. Like, and that's what I think, if you go in with that mentality, like, it's either, if you're giving me a plate of dog poop to eat and calling it food, I would rather not eat. No, thank you. You can eat the dog poo if you want to, but I would rather not eat,
It's so sad. They're so male identified.
Yeah.
And it causes us to suffer. So I'm really glad we're having this conversation. I think we should have more conversations like this. Eddie just texted me and said I look beautiful. Thank you, Eddie. Okay, so I'm going to let you go so I can let one other person on, and then once we go through the queue, I think we'll go for another 40 minutes or so until 9, because I want you guys to have a chance to speak. But thank you so much for sharing. I think you've helped somebody today. Absolutely.
I hope so.
I know you did.
All right.
All right. Thank
you.
Okay, so the next we have tell me again your name. I don't want to.
It's Essence. Yeah, and I got disconnected.
No, I'm sorry, not Essence. I'm gonna Essence, you got booted off. So you're at the back of the queue, but we have
Ajay.
Ajay.
You can
Ajay's speak first, and then you're next, Essence.
You can refer me, you could call me AJ.
AJ, okay. That's easier.
Well,
right, what did you want to say? I cannot believe you said you're 23, 24.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's funny. That it's my first time ever being called 15. So that's
well, you look really young. Is it just me, you guys in the audience? Like, does she not look like a teenager? I was like, wow.
And then it doesn't help that I have a round, chubby face, but
oh.
Well, first off, thanks for letting me be on here. Sure. I'm going to kind of keep it short because I'm supposed to meet up with a friend. But from the last woman that was on the video, I appreciate her sharing that story. And even the women before that, I actually grew up in a Christian influenced household, but it was a toxic religious type of a deal. My stepdad, he will call himself Christian, but speak and pick out pieces of the Bible that justified his worst. And then my mom, I feel like in a way she was kind of enslaved to the idea of being the good Christian wife and always sticking to her man. And so there was always these up and downs with her sacrificing her health to heal him, because he had arthritis. He kept going in and out of jail. He had drug problems. And so
what was he going to jail for?
I don't really know why he was going to jail. Maybe like silly reasons.
Wait. Okay, let's roll this back here. So he would use the Bible to justify his actions, but he was going in and out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it say in the Bible that you should follow the laws of the government? I know I heard it somewhere.
Listen, I'm just in his world living in it, you know. And so when it came to relationships and even sex, specifically with relationships, I'm very nervous. I've never been in a relationship before, never had sex before. I've like interacted with men and stuff like that. But I feel like it has a mental, because of my childhood, it has a mental strain on how I perceive, like how I go about trying to even be in a relationship. I don't even try. It's like as soon as I see a red flag, I'm like, you know what, I cut you off, I cuss you out, or I just ghost you. I guess that's cut off too. So right now,
your trigger finger is real sensitive.
Yes, it is, and I'm just now realizing that there's a certain point where I have to identify red flag, let a person know about that, you know, tell them about it, or keep that in mind, and then proceed with caution. Like there's certain things that shouldn't be so much of a red flag as other ones, if that makes sense.
So give me an example of a red flag where you ghosted a guy. Don't let it be like, tell me something that you thought was big, and then tell me something that you thought was little.
Okay, so a big one would be, I feel like these are all big though, but
okay, so well, let's hear it.
Okay, so a big one would be when like a man refers to a woman as a bitch, because now I'm nervous.
Okay, I'm that's nervous. Good. You can keep going. Yep, that's a red flag. Keep going.
And then and a small one, I guess, would be, well, I was messaging this one guy, and I was, I felt like he wasn't communicating with me as frequently as I would have liked, and so I felt like I was being a bugaboo or being a pest. So I had told him, I was like, well, if you don't want to have this, if you don't want to talk to me, then I don't want to waste your time nor mine. So I simply cut him off. What other ones may be a small thing?
Did he work? Did he have a job?
Yeah, he had work, he had school, and I look back and I'm like, okay.
So he's working and going to school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I look back at
that one was probably a little bit too trigger happy on the red flag.
Mm-hmm. What else? Oh God. I don't know. I can't bring them up at the top of my head, but these are certain things that I do know that I need to like find that are not too, like, you know, let the small things kind of lay at the wayside. Mm-hmm. But it's scary too, because I'm scared to trust myself to make the right decision when it comes to getting into a relationship, because I know if anybody could fall into a scary relationship, I can too, you know.
Well, because I mean, look who your teachers were.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm supposed to be able to speak perfect Latin and in a house where people spoke German. You know, It's like, huh? Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing, like, you're gonna have to like do the work, because I can see like what it is. You're so scared of having that thing that happened in your household. And this was your stepfather, right? This was when he wasn't your real dad.
No, he wasn't. My dad, he's was deported to South America.
Okay, so your dad was deported. She married somebody else, a sanctified jailbird.
Yes.
And so you're just like, there's part of you that's like, I don't want any of this. And you're so scared of like being in a situation where you're vulnerable to that you're just shutting it all down. Okay. But you can't, you can if you want to. I mean, you can do whatever you want to, but if you want to, ultimately have a healthy relationship, you can't shut everything down. You can't say, okay, because if a boy that you're dating is going to school and he's working, he's not going to be able to like text you all the time. He's not going to be able to, be super attentive because the priorities are what they are. And I'm just using that as an example. I don't know, like if he's waiting a week before he replies to a text, yeah, that's a red flag. He's not that interested. But like what I would say to do is like, definitely what I would do was really important is just say to yourself, like, what am I afraid of? And like verbalize it. Make it be real. Like whether you write it down or whether you say it, like, what am I afraid of? And then be specific. Like, I'm afraid that I'm going to meet somebody who's like a Christian fanatic and, goes in and out of jail every other month. Okay. So then we know we need to avoid that. Not everything. It's kind of like when there's something in your diet that is causing an irritation and you have to go to the doctor and he does all of these pinpricks in your back to see like what you're allergic to. Like he's putting all of these things in. Have you heard of that? Like where they give you the test?
Yeah, the sensitivity test.
Yeah. The sensitivity is like, I don't know if they do it differently, but it used to be that they would have to put all these pinpricks in your back and of all of these different things to see, okay, you're allergic to that. You're fine with that. This is a problem. This is okay. And so try to focus on what it is that the problem is instead of making the problem so huge to where you don't even want to take a stab at it, take a bite out of this gigantic cookie, you're like, the cookie's so big. I don't know where to start. Well, just start in one corner and work your way up. And so the key is not to not date. Like every person that you go on a date with is not going to be your boyfriend. Like you need to, at 24, you need to just at least be dating casually. So you know at least what it is that you want. Like you need to know what you want and don't put so much into like do rotational dating where you're dating multiple people and with a low level of expectation, because not every guy, like I said, is going to be your boyfriend. You need to know what you want. Okay. And so it's going to take experience and be careful about how quickly you engage in intimacy. Not because I'm afraid of, this is not from a religious standpoint or anything like that. It's just that, especially if you've never been in a relationship, if you get serious, what I fear is that that's going to leave you vulnerable for when you do have a physical relationship with somebody. It's going to make your toes curl. It's going to completely blow your mind and you're not going to be able to think straight, right?
Right. Girl, that's what I was scared of.
I don't want that to happen to you. And that will happen to you. And so unless you understand, go watch the video that I did a couple with Dr. Sims. And understand the science of what happens when we get turned on. Because I want you to get it. I want you to understand so that you can have some level of separation of like what's going on versus what's going on in your body, what you're feeling at the time. But you really do need to date. Like you need to be out there dating so you know what it is that you want. definitely make sure, just in case, make sure you're on birth control, because you just never know. You just never know, because you get caught up in these situations and you just never know. Just, trust me. Okay.
Right.
Trust me on that. But
Yeah.
I don't want you to be so, I feel like you're oversensitive. There's some people who just let it all, like they go through these situations where it's like, they have the complete opposite reaction. They're dating
there's no kind of
everybody. They're just
boundary.
out there. And your reaction is very conservative, to the point where you're like a turtle and you're like,
Yeah.
you're just like in this shell. But you have a desire, right, to have a relationship.
And a part of that is for the past 4 years too, I've just been highly focused on going to school, like getting my my RN degree or whatnot. And so
let me just ask you something though.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk and chew gum at the same time?
Yes, I can. and so like you're absolutely right. The turtle thing, that's funny, because that was my my spirit animal. I actually got it tatted on me. But like you're absolutely right. I think I need to keep that in mind, and it's something I have been working on. And I realize that this is a relationship is not to be feared, and people have been telling me too, like, you're not your mom, and you're not going to find somebody like your stepdad, as long as you keep that in mind. I feel like, so I have to just keep that. I'm different, completely different from my mom, and I won't attract that same situation. But I'm going to cut this short.
Yes,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you gotta go, but listen to this later, because you said that you have to leave. But I want to tell you something really quickly. You need to, when you start dating, you may meet some people that you feel like you jibe with, that you feel like this person understands you and they get you. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, what we recognize is the dysfunction that we were comfortable growing up with. And what we sense is the elements of those things. And that's why we're attracted to them. So be very careful, because of what your experience is. If sometimes going out with someone, and this was the best advice I got, was that sometimes it's better to date someone that it feels a little bit wrong, especially if you came from a dysfunctional family. Like, feeling weird doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that we've been primed, and our brain wiring has been laid out in a way that we receive certain stimuli in a certain way. When we see it and we recognize it, it happens on a very primal level. And so it feels like, oh, I'm connecting with this person. Oh, I'm in love. And what you're recognizing is that dysfunction that is familiar to you in another person. So just be careful with that. Get some counseling. You're in nursing school. I know they have counseling for that. Utilize it, because it's going to probably be cheap or free or whatever. Please do that. Do the rotational dating. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. And go ahead, go on, girl, and go out and have fun with your friend.
All right, then. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, and we got a super chat from, oh my gosh, my eyes are so bad, you guys. I can read what it says. It starts with an F. It says, pursue your dreams and goals and make your life beautiful, so that you are not chasing a guy. Make your life exciting if you get bored. Don't depend on anyone to make you happy beside yourself. So thank you for that $9.99 super chat. And it's Foss David. I think that's Foss David. And before we go on to the next person, because Essence, we're going to get to you, I want to just say this. Okay. We got a donation from a fan that discovered me on Clubhouse. And if you guys aren't following me on Clubhouse, I don't know, like, next week, we're starting on Tuesday, we're going to start the Get Out series, where we're going to talk about divestment and what that means. And I created an acronym for divestment. It's a few videos prior to this. You should check it out. Where each of the letters, I had an acronym. So each week we're going to go through what each means and how we can apply that into our lives, because divestment is kind of getting a bad rap. It means different things to different people. I'm going to explain it to how it means for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but you definitely want to join the Pink Pill Room if you're in Clubhouse, and check it out, because we're going to have our first Get Out series that going through each letter of divest until we get once a week until we get through the word. And so I don't know if he wanted me to give out his real name, but Dr. Quinn 43 on Instagram. It's DRQUIEN 43. Met him on Clubhouse through Eddie, gave a donation of $400, and it was to be used to gift young ladies for my Pink Pill courses. And so what I think I'm going to do is use that $400 to announce 4 additional Pink Pill for college girls. So thank you, Dr. Quinn 43. He's on Instagram. He has a private Instagram, but you can send him a note and thank him for that, and thank him for his support. Really do appreciate it. And really quick before I forget, there was one girl who I've been so late in doing the announcements for the Pink Pill for College, but Janita, I just signed Janita up for the Pink Pill for College. She applied and she gave an amazing, not only did she give me a picture, she gave me a whole application. She goes to she's studying architecture at the University of Edinburgh. She's 21 years old and she volunteers. She's in church. She just got, I just enrolled her today for the Pink Pill for College because she was so thorough in giving me a background about herself. I wanted to reward her on her effort, because you guys, this is what it's going to take to be the distinction, is that you're going to have to do certain things 1% better. You don't have to do everything, everything 100% better. Just got to do a few little things 1% better, and it's going to make you stand out. So the mods, if you would please put my email for people, because all of the donations that we get during the live chats go towards giving them to young ladies for the Pink Pill for College. So that's what we're doing. But I just wanted to make sure that Janita knew that I shouted her out, and Dr. Quinn 43. Thank you so much for the $400 donation. I'll definitely be giving out 4 free Pink Pill for College scholarships in your name. So thank you for that. Okay, so now we can move on because I got my announcements out of the way. So Essence, thank you for coming back. Honey,
yeah, no problem. So just listening to the other young women, I think what I want to focus on in this conversation is some of the animosity, and obviously not in general, not generalizing all older women, but some of the animosity from older women to younger women, and then the after effect once the children of these women who then become hypersexual. Okay, so and I also want to tell a story. I'm gonna make it super quick. I'm not gonna drag it out. Okay. So I was maybe about 19. So this is about 4 years ago. And I was getting a ride from this family friend of my mother's, which, mind you, he's a deacon. This man is about 70 something. So I'm assuming his wife was as well. Anyway, so he gave me a ride from one place to the next. At some point during the ride, he told me, he was like, yeah, I have to go pick up I had to pick up this lady from the nail salon, hair salon, whatever. So I'm like, okay. And I'm in the front seat. He's in the driver's seat driving, whatever. I don't want to make this the focal of the conversation, but I just want to put that down for the conversation, that there was some sort of weird tension. Mind you, this man is like 70. I'm like 19. I'm getting some sort of energy from him, like sexual energy, but whatever. So I get we get to the place and the woman comes out, she gets into the back seat. Immediately I could feel like very some tension. So I'm like, okay, maybe they knew each other. And then they started arguing. In the midst of the argument, I realized, because she says it, that this is his wife. So this man, he picked me up. Mind you, he's giving me all these weird type of this energy. Then he picks up his wife, which I didn't even know, lets her get in the back seat. And then so she's angry at this point. What I noticed was a lot of her, once I asked her, so once I heard her say, oh, you got your wife sitting in the back seat, da da da. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Do you wanna switch? She's like, yeah, I want to switch. Like, she was very upset. So we pull over and we switch seats. But I noticed, and even after that point, it was a lot of animosity. Once she got into the front seat, it was a lot better. But I noticed even after that point, whenever I see her or I have seen her, it's this animosity towards me. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like
well, it's not you, it's what you symbolize, and like
right, yeah,
because she knows her husband is lecherous.
Yes, and he definitely is. And that's why I say, and I want to also go on the record and say that me personally, on the spiritual journey that I'm at, I extend so much patience and grace to older women, like my mother, even though I don't have the best relationship with her, and just other women in general, because I realize that a lot of older women, like I said, just from listening to the women who are talking today, a lot of older women are acting from survival, and they do have a lot of things going on that they weren't able to address, because back then, the topic of mental health is super present now, but it wasn't back in the day. So they just had to eat that stuff, swallow it, just deal with it, just go through it, and just whatever. And then they have children, girl children specifically, and then they, kind of like push that, they project that onto them, that same energy. So now, speaking on hypersexuality, so I am a woman, I'm 23, I have 2 children. I am going to school, so just want to put that out there. But anyway, so I am a woman, I have 2 children, and specifically my son's father, we weren't at for a long time, but now he's getting his act together, he's doing what he's supposed to do, and we're cordial, like send me all this stuff all the time on text message. But would I want my son to grow up and become, be like him? And not necessarily. And then now I want to speak on like I said, hypersexuality. So you have these girls, and because they, their parents, their mother was so emotionally distant, and because of everything she's been through, and then just had to just deal with it, and you just trauma after trauma, and just have to keep going. Your child, you're not giving her, you're not making a safe space for her. You're not talking to her. You're not communicating with her in any type of way. So then you have these young girls who then go out into the world, and they get attention from, they get all type of negative energy from different girls and boys. And I want to stress that, especially now that I'm a mother, is so many predators out here. I am a woman who can speak on just the fact that it's so many predators. And that's why it's so important as a mother to maintain and have a good relationship, or try to at least put effort in to break down whatever you have going on. And that's what I'm saying. I just want all of us to heal. Older women especially, I love y'all. Like, just try to heal it, because I'm not gonna get emotional, but but I just want y'all to heal it, because then you have these children, and then they don't get any type of anything from you, then they go out and look for it. And then when they come back to you with a baby, a big belly, talking about they got burned, this, that, and the third, then you want to call them fast and grown and put them down. And it's just
everything else. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just like, then you got to think about it. The cycle then continues, because then that woman gets older and she's been traumatized by her mother, maybe a lack of a father, all these boys that she didn't had, these boys that had came and gone, and all this heartbreak and turmoil and all this type of things. And now the cycle repeats itself, but that's what I want to say. So the older generation, my elders, I look up to them, because obviously you've been here longer than me, you've been through a lot, I can learn from you, you are a Black woman, you get my respect. But at the same time, it's just like, there has to be props given to all of us, the young, the ex, all of them who are trying, who are now focused on mental health and creating spaces for women to congregate and talk and heal and just, I don't know, like help each other. Because like I said, it's so, I can attest, and so many women can, that there's so many predators out here. And when you have a daughter, and I understand, you know, maybe your daughter disrespectful, her mouth, this, that, and the third, you know, you also have to have self-reflection. Like, who are you? Who are you? You know, where did she get this behavior from? What's going on? Because sometimes all you have to do is talk to your child. Because I can, you know, and being a parent, my mom, she would say things along the lines of, oh, you know, you don't even know what trouble is. You don't even know what pain is. And I'm like, during this time, mind you, by the time I got to middle school, high school, I have been violated, preyed on. Like I said, I ain't gonna get all into it, but I've definitely been sexually assaulted. And during this time, I was maybe 13, 14. I've had grown men come into my space and try to violate me or have violated me. And it's just like, my mother didn't make it she didn't make it where, okay, you know what, Essence, what's wrong? What's going on? Why are you acting out? What's happening?
This is what really makes me mad.
I'm trying not to get emotional.
What makes me mad is that you set a stage where your baby cannot be safe,
Right.
where you have lecherous men who are preying on them at 12, 13 years old.
Even younger, yeah.
As young as 9, you know, because some girls, they start, as soon as they start sprouting breasts.
Men are looking.
Then you have this toxic soup that you are, and then you expect for a little girl who grows up all around that to be perfect, make perfect choices, to not be a baby mama, to not, you know, be out there, you know, doing things that are exploited. Like you create this place where this environment that is unsafe, where there's,
and you leave her. You just leave her in the dark to get
taken. Her to just know, like, and then you want to turn around and villainize single mothers. Oh, is that they're the worst things in the world? And it's like, do you even realize like where these women came from? Like there's no context given for why they go. There's no sympathy. There's no empathy. Like and this is where I say this
even from other women.
Yes. And here's the thing, and I say this all the time, and Kendall says this too. Kendall St. Charles says there's always redemption for the Black man. Like right now, you know, there's a very prominent relationship expert right now who's being dragged through the coals, but I guarantee you that man will have redemption, because it's like there's always these qualifiers, there's always room for forgiveness, that nobody's perfect and all of these things when it comes to
when it's a man.
But women have to be perfect, and we have to grow up and develop perfectly in a toxic soup of complete despair, of cynicism, of danger, of sexual predatory. Like we're supposed to then bloom to be perfect flowers and in a toxic dump,
which is crazy. It's just kind of like how it's and you would like think that would make,
if you do, like if you see the daisy grow up in the toxic dump where there's like radioactive things, and you see a plant that actually is able to survive under those conditions, that's a miracle. Like it is. I don't understand what people
we need to have more grace and just understanding for other women, from younger women to older women. The respect is there, it needs to be there, and then from the older women to the young women, you have to be understanding, because, and that's the thing, we're Black women, y'all know it best, y'all been through it. And see, and I like I said, speaking again on hypersexuality, it's just, you know, now that I have a daughter, I have a son as well, which that's a whole nother topic. But just on my daughter, it's just I've just come to the conclusion that I'm gonna have these talks with her, not super early, but I'm gonna have these talks with her because I wish somebody would have had these talks with me just about sex. And that's what I'm saying. You are a woman. You're my mom, when I was 12 or something, she was maybe like 40, 30, late 30s, whatever. It's just you've been through this again and again and again, and you've seen it. So tell me, and you know, and a lot of Black women, and my mom is religious too, so she's a Christian. So, and a lot of women, Black women, they want to condemn you. They're like, oh, you're fast, you're grown, don't even think about that. Why you even think about that? Why you even talking to boys? Don't even look at a man. Don't even look at a boy. But it's just you know how it is, and what you need to do is go ahead and get that out the way and let her know and tell her the truth.
All acknowledge hormones. Like, can we just take out the religiosity and just acknowledge puberty, hormones? These are all like these urges. These are all normal. Like,
address it head on. That's how I feel.
We obviously, like, we don't want to talk about sex, but clearly we're having it because we have all these out here being born.
Yeah.
and so we're having it despite you not wanting to have these conversations. And these children are being born in less than ideal situations because you refuse to have the conversation. Like, listen,
I absolutely agree.
And so I want to just ask you, and this is not like, I really just want to understand, this is like no judgment on my part at all.
Okay.
So I'm just assuming that you didn't marry either one. So how old is your son?
My son is 3. He'll be 4 September. Yeah.
And your daughter is?
My daughter is 2. So I had them back to back.
Okay. And is it by the same guy?
No.
Okay. So walk me through how that happened. Like, is what you feel comfortable. And the reason why I'm doing this is not to try to put you on blast or anything. I'm just
it's fine. They can't even see my face.
I'm understand like when you had the first child, was it
like, where was I at mentally? Okay, I'll tell you just the whole situation. Well, I'll summarize it definitely. So with my son, see, I just want to piggyback off of everything we just said. So mind you, you have a girl child who's been through all that in that mind frame. So I'm not in the mindset that I am now. But I was very male identified, which a lot of us are, and was trying to do everything to please whoever I was with. And we got together, and you know, I think I'll go a little bit deeper. So my son's father specifically, he was going through a tough time at home, and we worked at the same job. Long story short, he had, mind you, many times he had looked out for me and helped me out, and he ended up getting put out by his mom because we're young. I'm 23. My son is 3, about to be 4. So and
like 18, 19 years old.
Right. So mind you, at this time I had my own place, and he's living with his mom. So she put him out, and she was very verbally abusive, very, because I heard her on the phone. But like I said, even her as a Black woman, like I said, that's a whole nother conversation. But because she's been through things as well too. But anyway, so he ended up getting put out. And I told him, I was like, you can come stay with me. So I'm sure you can just go ahead and just summarize how you think that happened.
Yes.
He started living with me, and it happened, and we were super excited. Mind you, we're children our damn selves. We're super excited, like, oh my gosh, yes, this is it. And it took me till I got to maybe about 3-4 months. That's when I realized I don't like him. I don't like him in my space. I don't want him here. This is not what I want. But at this point, I'm already pregnant. So, you know, it's just a matter of, I got to mature real quick. I've got to, about what I have to do, you know, go ahead and get it up. So anyway, that's how that situation started and ended. Like I said, 3-4 month mark, I was just like, yeah, this isn't it. I don't know where I was thinking. I don't know where my head was at. That was a mistake. So going on to my daughter's father, which he is a complete trip. Now he's older. This is one of the men that I would say was very predatory. You know what I'm saying? Because hello, are y'all still there?
Yeah, we're here. I'm listening.
Okay, so he's one of the men that's very predatory. So at this point, I'm 23. He's in his 50s. So and he
Oh no.
oh yeah. Very listen. So like I so it's funny now I can laugh about it. But anyway, so this particular person knew one of my male family members. So that's how he got in. And he had known me since I was about 16. When I turned 18 is when he started making like his feelings known. Like he would flaunt his money because he owned multiple businesses. So he would flaunt his money, he
He's
would do
old enough
this, he
to
would do
be your
that.
father. That's gross.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And but that's what I'm saying. It was nothing new to me because I've been getting preyed on really since I was about 10, really younger, because I had the stories I could tell. But anyway, at that point, like I said, he know me since I was 16. Where I was at, I was 18. Okay. So at 18, he started making like it really known, like, I'm trying to take you out, I'm trying to take you out. Then I ended up meeting my son's father. And then like that got hemmed up, which that whole situation was like I felt bad for him. So I let him stay at my place because I had my own place at the time. And that situation happened, whatever. So now he kind of fell back once he realized that. He came back in once after I had my son, and I made it clear, like, yeah, I'm completely done with that situation. We've been done for months. And I was, how old was I? I was my daughter is 2 about to be 3, so I was what, 20, 21? I don't know. But whatever, he had alcohol.
50, so you're 21
Mhm.
and he's 50.
We went on multiple dates. How that happened that one night, we got completely wasted, and then that's what happened. And that wasn't even a situation where it took me months to realize, like, oh, this isn't what I want. It was like pretty much the next day. So I ghosted him basically. And how that situation, once I realized I was pregnant, I was completely frantic because I remember how, my first pregnancy went and how alone I felt then. Because even though my son's father was there, like I said, him, the way he was, his mentally, he just wasn't maturing fast enough for me. I was starting to realize life had hit me real quick. I have a son, I got stuff to do. So where was I at? Oh yeah, so I started. So
it was like this one encounter, you found out you were pregnant. Before you go
right.
on, how come you didn't? Again, no judgment, but I'm just
abortion?
saying, no, not abortion, but like just birth control. Like why?
Oh, okay. So as far as birth control, one of my aunts, like I said, I'm gonna make this short and sweet too. One of my aunts, she was taking birth control like for the past, I don't know how long she's been taking it, 10, 20 years, whatever, how long it's been out. And she ended up getting breast cancer. And she would like preach to like our whole family, do not put your girls.
That's the number one is the reason why I got off birth control, because like they'll scare you. They scare you into thinking like birth control is like you're gonna get cancer, you're gonna get a stroke, it's gonna be horrible.
You're gonna die.
Want to have babies, you're not gonna be able to have babies. And so that fear that they put inside you makes you not use it, and then it makes you vulnerable to getting pregnant because you're so afraid. But okay,
absolutely.
Just in case you don't,
but at the same time,
now, essence, there are non-hormonal birth control practices that are available to you. And if you want to talk to me about it, and I can give you maybe point you in the right direction. But you guys, there's an IUD that's like copper that doesn't give off any hormones. They also have a spermicide now that you can use like when it's like packs. They just recently started advertising it on TV, where it's you still need to use condoms to protect yourself from diseases, but as far as protecting yourself from, because some people will try to sabotage you, they'll try to pull off the condoms, whatever, or you get caught up in the moment. But you have this spermicide, it's just like in a little syringe. It's non-hormonal. Like ask your doctor about the spermicide that you can use as the time arises, because I don't want this to happen to you again. And I understand your fear. Because it's the reason why I got pregnant. I totally get it. But there's a whole lot of different things. I don't want you to have any more kids. Like you have your
right. So I wanna
I don't want you to have more kids until you're ready and you want to have it with somebody who wants to be a husband and who is going
Right,
to provide
absolutely.
a place that you can build, you can have a nest. So please,
Okay,
please do that for me.
so what I want to say, because I just looked at the chat for a little bit, and then I also heard you say about condoms. So, like I said, I want to also make it clear. So, like I said, I'm going to school right now for dentistry. So I'm aware of, just because it's the medical field, I'm aware of different things that I could have done to avoid this and what I can do now. Like I'm currently on the shot for the birth control.
Okay.
But what I want to say is during that time period, that's where accountability lies. So I have to take accountability regardless of I was 19, 18, 17, whatever. I have to take accountability for my actions because were condoms available? Yes. Me and the people that I chose to sleep with, we decided not to. Like with my son's father, obviously that was a relationship we were planning at, so we weren't using it at all. But with him, we were drunk. It only happened at one time. We were drunk, and I ended up finding out after everything was said and done. Because, like I said, the story goes deep as when I started to become frantic. Like when I found out I was pregnant, because I had ghosted him. When I found out I was pregnant, I became very frantic, and I ended up finding out from him that he wanted me to get pregnant, which is hilarious because now that I have his daughter, he doesn't do much for her. His family does, but he doesn't. He told me straight up, like, oh, you know, if I can't continue to sleep with you or have sex with you or be with you, then yeah, you're not getting none of my money. You're not getting none of it. So
he deliberately. So and I want you. There's a word for this. Okay, Essence. There's a word for what he did. That if he intended for that to happen and he didn't take precautions, this
on
falls under
purpose.
the umbrella of what is called reproductive coercion, where when a person deliberately, and it's a form of domestic abuse, when a person is trying to possess you for whatever reason so they can get resources from you, sex, a place to sleep, or just control you, or to try to like bring down your stock as a woman, men will deliberately put you in those situations. It's called reproductive coercion. And it sounds like
Yes.
that's what he did because
Oh, definitely.
he wanted to have access to free sex
He
sex
thought yeah, he thought
because
so.
you had his daughter. He thought, well, then if she has my kid, then I'm going to be able to lay up whenever I want to. It's totally predatory and totally disgusting.
Disgusting. Exactly. We both said it at the same time. And what I also want to say about him, and like I said, that is a case where we could go on all day. But and then also with him is that so during this time period when I was talking to him, like I said, he started knowing me, talking to me, like showing his interest since I was 16. So what I had noticed though is like, you know, you're 40, 50. You know, why don't you have any kids? Which at the end of the day is perfectly fine. And I have kids. If you don't want children, it's perfectly fine. But at the same time, I would wonder that. And now that everything is said and done, and I'm 23, and I look back, I realized that he was women probably were running from him because he's so crazy and he is a narcissist. Thank God I don't have to really deal with him on a day-to-day basis, because once he realized that, oh, she's really not gonna give it up, he just really just exited, which is provides me peace to a certain point, even though I still deal with his family. But at the same time, I realized now, like, women, they were smart. The older women that probably were dealing with him, they were like, yeah, no, we're not having a kids with him, we're not doing it. And he ended up getting with me.
Wasn't even, if he was trying to get with you at 16, that means that he didn't have the emotional capacity to be with women his own age, because
he don't even have the emotional capacity to have a conversation, to be on toe to toe with me to this day. So it's messed up. I don't know who he is or I don't know who he is.
Men who want women who are significantly younger, like young enough to be their daughters, it's often a predatory reason. And I say this knowing that my dad was 17 years older than my mom, but it wasn't a situation. She was 24 and he was however old he was, 40 something. But when you're talking about early 20s, like, you know, early and, you know, in the teens, like he was singling you out. He was targeting you when you were 16, like
from the beginning.
Predatory behavior. And like these men, they don't have the emotional capacity to deal with women their own age because they want to be able to manipulate young
I'm reading these
girls.
comments.
So that's why they target you, because they're, it's a pedophilic, but it's also just an emotional stunting or an emotional retardation that they have. And so they're looking to you. And so like, these are
for prey, basically. Yeah.
Within our community. And then you're supposed to then grow up to be perfect. And this is why there's not going to be any condemnation for your situation, because people want to act like Black girls are grow up in test tubes. And the next time you hear somebody railing at single mothers, you need to send them this link so that they can have a little bit of empathy and contextualizing, because if Black men want to be understood for why they're in the situations that they get themselves into, then why can't you lend that same understanding and empathy? Because we're
To
right
young
here
women.
with we're dealing with this stuff right here with you. And so like, but you expect for us to grow up in the same toxic dump and then grow up to be perfect and blameless. You can be redeemed. You can be forgiven. Your experience can be contextualized, but we have to be perfect. And then we have the scarlet letters on us because we've made these choices. But it's like, it's so unfair.
So I want to say something.
So unfair. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm ranting.
No, because I think you're perfectly fine.
It just makes me mad.
No, because you're perfectly fine, and you're right, and that's why where I'm at now, if when I see, because like I said, because it's everywhere, and that's why I personally try to not be as judgmental, because I realize it's everywhere. It's little girls down the street, they 17, 16, 18 going through this and that with this boy and that boy, and they end up pregnant. And I try to talk to the ones that I can beforehand. They come to me, they tell me what they're dealing with and what's going on with them. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and cut that off and keep it moving. But everybody gonna do what they want. But listen, I want to say something, because I saw in the comments. So number one, it's funny that I brought up abortion to you and you weren't talking about it, but someone brought up, oh, why didn't you get an abortion? So at that time period, like I said, I was maybe 19, 20 during that. No, I was 20. My daughter is 2, about to be 3. So I was 20 when I had her. So I had to be 19 before, whatever. But like I said, he started grooming me when I was 16. So as far as abortion goes, sweetheart, to the person in the comments, where was I gonna get that money? did I bring up my parents at all? At any point, did I bring up, like, I could just go and say, Mom, look, I need this, that, and the third. I had my own house. I had my own place at 18, 19. So everything, I was completely self-sufficient, just obviously not on the right track, which was unfortunate at that time. But I mean, I had my children. So as far as abortion, I brought up abortion to him and he was completely against it, of course, because he wanted me to get pregnant. Now I want to fast forward to after everything was said and done. And it's funny that you brought up Black men, because let's just speak on it for a second. Not all, obviously, but ones that are like him. I remember he sent me a text message on the very few conversations that we've been able to have. Mind you, he's not man enough to try to see me in person. He duck and dodges me. He don't call me on the phone. He just keeps everything very text message, because like I said, he can't hold a conversation with me. But anyway, we had he sent me a message on the phone, and his message was saying something along the lines of no, he sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post where somebody's mother, which, like I said, we could really unpack this, but somebody's mother, so the grandmother, had posted and was just airing out her daughter and saying, oh, you keep your child away from this man, and Black women need to get this together because they're separating fathers from the children. She just basically went on this whole rant, and he sent that to me. And I literally had to just look at it and just laugh, because you're not in this situation. And this man, mind you, he's 50. Victim mentality as a grown man. As a grown man, mind you, and he's still dating women. Like I said, he got his businesses, he's doing whatever he's doing. And I'm just wondering, I'm just like, what woman finds these men attractive? But of course they, put up a mask and all this type of things like that. But I'm just like, it is what it is. And once you go through certain things, traumatic, just like I said, with older women and younger women and with whoever, you just got to, all you can do is pick up the pieces and keep it moving and try to do better from there on out. And I'll make sure that my son and my daughter are very aware of what they need to be aware of, and sex and diseases. Because like I said, when I was talking about parents having open conversations with their children just let mothers having conversation with their daughter about sex or love or whatever.
STDs need to be brought up. You know, these sexual vampires need to be brought up, because that's what a lot of these men can be, sexual vampires.
Absolutely. You know what, Essence, here's what I'm gonna do. I want you to break this cycle. I want you to be the one to break this cycle. The way I think that you'll be able to get into a situation where you can get out of these elements where you're around predatory people, especially with your daughter. You are going to school, and that's great. Email me. Email me. I'm going to gift you the pink pill for business. It's $800, but I'm giving it to you because you need it.
Thank you.
It's a business etiquette and it's a business finishing school. So it teaches you business etiquette, networking, communication, interview tips, body language, how to follow up, how to conduct yourself in a meeting. So all of the things that you need to sort of present your best self. Essence, send me an email. Email.
And thank you so much.
My email is ckarazin@gmail.com. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna enroll you in the pink pill for business. It's like it is my most expensive course, but I want you to have the skills that you need so that you can find a different way for your kids. Okay.
And thank you so much. And I want to just leave on this note. I wanted to say thank you to you specifically, women like you who make, because I had spoken about that before, who just make communities and spaces for women to have conversations and help each other out, because a lot of us have never seen that in the flesh. A lot of us haven't seen a lot, you know. So as I'm becoming an adult, I'm becoming more exposed to different people, different situations, different environments. And again, I just want to say thank you. I mean, all I can do, and to everyone in the comments, all I can do is keep it going, keep it moving forward, just like the rest of you. And I have to just make sure that I can do the best for my children. I've had to learn a lot by the age of 23. So, you know, if anybody's judging the comments, it is what it is. You have your opinion.
Well, you know what? You grew up in a toxic wasteland, and people thought that you were supposed to go and thrive unscathed, and that's unfair. Because your experience is not contextualized. But I want to, this is actually the first pink pill for business I've gifted. And I want you to have it, because I want, these are things that will help you, whatever business you decide to go in. And just also even socially, it will help you. So make sure you email me and I will manually enroll you. And we have another super chat. Karina says, mothers are needed to sense danger, and fathers are needed to protect their children from the danger. The sex talks helps children acknowledge when there is danger. Have the talk and break the cycle. Protect your children. Thank you for that 1999 super chat, and that's very true. So Essence, thank you. And I have somebody.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you got love and support from me. Please don't have any more babies.
I don't plan to
go through that course. And the only thing I ask of you is, once you go through the course, write me back and tell me what you thought, and write a review for me. That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome, hun. And good luck to you.
All right. Have a blessing. Thanks.
For you. And anybody in the chat who can like honestly judge the situation and make it be all on her, then you have no heart. Like, seriously, you just don't. And you're part of the problem, because our experiences aren't contextualized. And because they're not contextualized, they are not prioritized. Okay. And because they're not contextualized or prioritized, they continue to happen and perpetuate upon each other, because it's seen as solely the responsibility of us and not seen as a greater and larger problem. And that's the problem. Yar, you're my last for the night. Yar, are you still there? Thank you for waiting.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi. What did you want
Hi.
to say about everything?
Well, I have a lot to say, so I'm just gonna focus on the main point, which is like, how did our parents fail us? For me, my mom failed me in ways, but I can't blame her because of her life experience, right? She comes from a home that didn't taught her any better. She comes from a home where her father was an alcoholic, and basically her mother had to stand there every Friday when he got his paycheck to take it from him so he doesn't go and spend it on the other women, right? So she just that's how she saw it. So her way to rebel against that was to kind of be a tomboy. So my mother really didn't grow up around her mother, didn't really learn stuff or how to be a mom. And when she met my dad, it was like through her brothers as her friend, basically her brother friend, right? Who was about like 7 or 8 years her senior. I think she was 16 at the time when she got pregnant with my older brother, right? And because we're African, you're getting married right away. So that's what ended up happening. My grandparents and them got together with his grandparents, and they were like, you're getting married. This is what is happening right now. Right. So they got married, moved in together, but he ended up still having all these extra women and was still having all these extra babies. So, I mean, when it comes to me with my relationship with my mother, I just learned all of this stuff, I'll say about 7 years ago. So my mother really didn't talk about history. It's when I'm reflecting on my own life, I'm like, Mom, tell me a little bit more. How did you grow up? How did you experience with your mother? And I was raising my mother until about 4 years old. And then my dad raised me, right? Up to my teen years. So my experience with my dad was very grounded, was very needed. I don't feel like I would have made it through life without my father, honestly, because he taught me about like contextual things like accounting, how to balance your checkbook, about going to school and being driven but what I saw for him on a relationship point was all these other women coming in every day of the week. There was another girl and another woman and a predatory behavior, like younger girls, like 16, 18 type of stuff. Yeah. So seeing that type of stuff, and I was like, okay, I want a mom. At that time, I was just like, I want a mom. Can you pick one, marry one, give me a mother?
Mom for me.
Yeah. So I was just like, I want to know what it is to be a mom. So I had like a lot of experience with different girlfriends, right? Like living at this one house for like a year or this one house for like 6 months. And it was very destructive, I think, for me, because I was so much trying to grasp on what it means to be a woman. Like, can you teach me how to do hair? Can you teach me how to cook? I was always asking all these different people what to do. And then in my head, I create like this fantasy mother, when I meet my mom, we're going to do hair together. We're going to go on dates and we're going to talk and it's going to be amazing. So when I meet my mother at 15, first time she hugged me, and I'm like, who is this stranger touching me? Like, it was such a disconnect. It was so weird. So now getting to know her, I'm like, all right, Mom, can we talk about this? My brother's like, oh, I'm busy. I got to go to work. So we never really built that relationship. We never really had that connection. And I turned that into, oh, I'm just going to hang out with the boy or whatever, right? And I started having sex at a very early age. I'll say 15. I became a teen mom, right? My first period happened very late. I think it was like 14 and a half. I got my first period. And my conversation from my mother was, you got your period now, you need to stay away from boys. And in my head, I was like, what? Not me, please. Kids, I am too cute. That would never happen to me. It's not possible, okay? I was like, only like, because the girls I've seen that's been pregnant are like very like ugly, very fast, uneducated, not aware, do not have all this like conversation with the dad, because I have all this stuff and my dad is cool. We talk about stuff. But like, that would never happen to me. It's not possible. But what I was missing was the science, because I was always this kid who would be like, well, why? Why? And my mother never really explained why to me. So because there was no understanding of the why. I was just like, it's impossible then. It would never.
Right. And that's why it's important to explain the why. You know?
Very much is. So I was like, well, it would never happen to me. This is not going to happen to me. So I didn't really like this boy. I was just like, look, you're somebody I can deal with while I go to school. And like, at least I have somebody to talk to in that sense. Sex was not, it wasn't important to me. It was just something I kind of did. I don't know. It was just like, all right, I did it, whatever. That's what people talk about. That's what it is. It wasn't anything like I wanted to chase or wanted to do. It was just like to fill my time gap because my mother wasn't entertaining me or talking to me at that time. I had school and I had him. So when I became pregnant with my daughter at 15, I didn't tell anybody because we very much talk about like, I knew my mother. I was like, she's going to kill me. Like, she's like going to hang me on a stake. Like outside.
Well, she did it. And then she was like not even in your life for like 11 years.
Yeah. But I knew how angry my mother could get. And I was terrified. So I didn't tell anybody about pregnancy. So I knew if I didn't get my period the next month, I was like, okay, I think I'm pregnant, but I'm not going to say nothing. Like, see how, this plays out, basically.
Oh my God. Let's see how things work out.
Yeah, see how
Who knows? Maybe this world will end next week.
I was very naive in that sense, but I also knew, like, because I'm gonna be honest to you, the gospel side, the spiritual side definitely kicked in for me at a young age because I went to church on my own. Nobody didn't tell me to go to church. I knew spiritually, like, that's not something I wanted to do, to have an abortion. And I also didn't want to be forced to do it. So I felt like the later I said something, the better it was for the chances of nobody forcing me to have an abortion, right? And when I did say something to my mom, that's exactly what happened. I was literally dragged in the street by my shirt collar, took me to the pharmacist to have the test explained to her, and then literally had like an embarrassing family meeting with like everybody, uncle, aunties, you name it. And everybody was like looking down upon me, and I was just like,
so they did a shame intervention.
Intervention, basically, right?
A shaming intervention. So, you're in the middle, and they're like,
yeah, literally. So then they're like, who's the father? I'm like, he is, like, because he's a family friend. He was always around. And he's like, no, I never did. She's lying. This has never happened. So my mother was like, okay, we're excommunicating from this family. Like, he gotta go. Like, we don't want nothing to do with you guys.
Was he your age or was he older?
He was my age, yeah.
Okay.
He was my age. We're both 15.
Okay.
Right? So they're excommunicated from the family. And basically, I just, I went back to school, went back to high school at the time. But then I became like very shy about the pregnancy. And I was like, you know what, I'll stay home after the baby. I researched so you can go to school where you can take the baby with you and you can still go to high school. So I enrolled in one of those programs after I had my daughter. School is a very big thing for me. Like, I actually stayed away from guys for like 5 years. It was just me and my daughter going to school. I got my GED. And then I took like some other programs, like learning how to type, learning how to like do Excel, spreadsheet, all of those things, became a medical billing, did all of that. And then I was like, all right, maybe I should try this relationship thing again. And I did, I think when I was 21, went through hell with my mom. Like, she literally kicked me out when I was 17, homeless with a baby, everything, like hell, right? Dealt with that, went through the shelter, got my own place, settled in, went back to school. Our relationship was completely strained because she really didn't talk to me. Just, hey, hi, bye type of situation. When I finally had my daughter, I went back to school. I met my son's father. We were dating. And at the time, to be honest with you, again, I don't know what a relationship is. Like, to be like that honest with you. I'm just like, I see people doing it, so I think I should do it. I have no idea what I want or what I don't want at this point. I'm just like, And I didn't really want to be in a relationship. But my mother kept saying, oh, your daughter's 5 years old now. She never seen a dude around. She don't know what it like to be a father. You need to have a man. Just have a man. And then in my head, I'm like, all right, so then it just has to be a man then. It doesn't matter which way you pick, right? Like, so that's how I
blind leading the blind.
Yeah, exactly. And they're picking my son's father now. And we dated, I think 6 months into the pregnancy. He moved in with me like literally like 2 months. And I was just like, wait, I should have moved in. Like, why are you moving into my space? After a while, I'm like, okay, are you contributing to it? Like, I'm trying to go to school. I have a kid. My brother was really helpful at this time. He would watch my daughter while I go to school. In the evening, I went to work in the daytime. So I was just like, are you contributing to my rent? Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, no. Dominican man. So I figured, hey, maybe I diversified this time. It's a little bit different. Dominican, like pure Dominican, like just came off the boat like maybe 7-8 months or so. So he's like, no, I got money I need to send back home to all of my family members. I can't help you. So 6 months of that, I found out I was pregnant with my son. And I was just like, why is he here? I go to school, I work, I pay for everything. Why is he here? Like, I just kept asking myself that. And finally, one day I was just like, yeah, I think I would do this single mother thing. I know it's going to be hell the second time around, but I think I would be a lot happier if I'm just here with my kids by myself. So I'm working with him. He went to the Dominican Republic. He called me. He's like, can I come back and live in your house? I was like, no.
Yeah, he was just, he's a leech.
Exactly.
Like you were his mama. Like
definitely. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. We separated, didn't get into another relationship because I'm like, again, don't know this stuff. Nobody's talking me to this stuff. So let me just stay away from dudes. Stay away from dudes for like maybe 2-3 years, right? It started a phlebotomy program.
Like, just get some birth control. Like
I was told, even when I was in a relationship with that pregnancy, my son pregnancy, I was on the ring, actually, when I got pregnant.
Really?
On the ring. Yeah, and so I am one of those rarely fertile women, apparently. That's what the doctor said. So I got pregnant on the ring, and that was a no. I did Depo for years, like years. And after like, I think they told me 7 or 10 years or so, you can't do it no more because it's too much for your body to be on Depo that long of a period of time, right? So birth control didn't always work with me. I must say that's something I didn't shy away from. I definitely went, do my check, do my birth control, whatever. But in all of this, I'm saying the lack of awareness and knowledge definitely leads, like, it's like a baggage that just keeps adding up because you're going into situation and you just like, okay, maybe I'll try this one and see if it works.
Right. So you just like, you're like, okay, this isn't working. Let me try this. And like, nobody knows anything. Nobody's like, can advise you. Everybody else has got these effed up situations.
Like, going on.
Has a lot of nerve to kick you out at 17 when she got pregnant and had to, and the father had to be made to marry her. So she did the same thing. And so she's all judgy. And then she's like, she doesn't even have a relationship with you until you're 15. Like, I'm speechless at the hypocrisy. And the judgmental, like, it's not just the men, it's like the women I feel like the women are worse. Like, you've gone through all of this stuff and you have no compassion. Like, you don't want to prepare. You don't want to, like, it's like, oh, don't eat that leaf. It's poison. I ate it last week and I had a stomach ache and I had the runs. Don't eat it. No, they'll sit there and watch person after person go eat the leaf that they had last week. They gave them the runs.
Definitely.
And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So it's just like, it just adds up. And then when I go in a relationship again, when I was in the phlebotomy program, and I was like, okay, this dude is in school. That's good. I met him in school. So you can't say I picked him up somewhere where he don't know nothing. And then I was like, he's raised with a mother and a father. They're both in the home. That's good. He's Caribbean. He seems to be culturally aware. Like we would talk about like education, music. Like he was very versatile. Like I felt like you could take him from like a boardroom to like church to like the club. Like he was like perfect. I was like, okay, I think that's on the winner. This is
But
great.
but see, here's the thing. Listen, like your mother, here's the thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to see, I want the ladies to see here, because I'm seeing a little bit of judgment, some judgment in the chat. And I just want to say her mother is telling her, you need a man. You need a man. Your daughter is too long without a man in the house. You need a man. And so this man just comes in and like just moves in, and it's like a kid. Like he's not contributing. She's paying for his food, his shelter, his covering, all of that. And then she gets pregnant. And so it's like, so you have all of these elements, and it's like people expect us to be like, have superpowers or something. Like you have all of this rotten crap around you, and they expect for you to make like you got rotten apples and they want fresh apple pie, like that's not rotten. It's like, but all I have are these rotten apples. How come you don't have my fresh apple pie? You don't have my fresh apple pie. Where's your fresh apple? Like,
the thing about it is like, I don't take offense to however people want to judge, because I understand like this is only the iceberg of what I've been through, like just physical trauma to mental trauma to just life, period. I've been through so much and I've overcome so much that nobody can tell me anything about myself that I don't already know. Nobody can tell me anything about my mistake that I haven't even reviewed. I spent 3 years just looking at my own history, being in therapy, going through spiritual healing, listening to Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, all these other spiritual leaders, and understanding what it means for me as a human being to be happy and content and wake up in the morning and be proud of myself and be accepting and loving of myself. And for a long time, that's what I was missing. It was literally the call to be who I am. Because as much life has told me a lot of stuff, I always wake up and say, thank you, God, for another day. As much I've been through, my daughter's 20 years old right now, finishing Johnson & Wales college, okay? I paid out of pocket for that school. I'm a registered nurse. I've been doing this for 4 years now, okay? I'm a mama of 5, and I take care of every one of my babies. Wow. My last relationship, we were together for 8 years, and I have 3 girls with him. It was good. I literally had his mama and his daddy living with me, and I was taking care of them. So a lot of it was just giving myself that 3 years to go to YouTube University and looking and say, okay, what am I missing? What didn't nobody tell me? I listen to a variety of male on YouTube, females on YouTube, spiritual leaders on YouTube, pastors. I go the whole gamut. I don't stick and listen to one person. I don't follow their lifestyle. I follow the teaching. What is given to me? What is missing? I listen with internal understanding. And even if I make mistake, I have to look myself in the eye and say, you know what? Yeah, you messed up. You made that choice. You had no business making that choice, but what are we going to learn from it? That's where we are right now. What can we learn and what can we do differently? I asked my daughter the question you asked me, how did I feel hurt? Because keep in mind, I was 15 when I had her, okay? She went through homelessness with me. She went through the same horrible situation I had to go through. So she experienced it on a mental level because she was about 2-3 years old at the time before we got settled in. And she said, Mom, I wish you would have listened a little bit more, right, to me. And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, this just, you lecture me like you were just preparing me for life all the time. Because internally, I'm like, fearful.
Okay, we're going to have these lectures.
Yeah. Because I'm like, nobody can tell me this. Let me tell you this. I learned some amazing things. Come here, sit down.
It's hard because you're like, you know, and it's like you focus on your mistakes, because I'm like telling my daughter, it's like, okay, you don't want to be pregnant. Do you think you're going to have sex? Okay, when you go to the doctor, and they're like, you know, you're praying, and then it's a new thing, some new accident that she did. And it's like, whatever, it's always going to be something, but you don't want them to make the mistakes, but maybe there's blind spots in other areas. Like maybe you could have been a little softer. It's like, nothing is perfect, right?
Yeah. So she's like, you could have just listened to me a little bit more, because sometimes I feel like just lecturing.
There's always going to be something. Like, I wish you would have sing me a lullaby instead of reading to me. And, you know, there's always going to be something. Like, nobody's going to be perfect, but whatever, you know?
Yeah. So that in turn, you know, I think, and I asked her, because my youngest is 8, and then the next one is 10, and then the next one is 13. So I have 4 girls and 1 boy, right? So I asked her, I said, what about your sister? She's like, oh my God, you do a great job with them. You listen to them, you talk to them. You're not the same mom. I guess me going through finishing college and all of that stuff, like psychology and really paying attention to your energy and what it means when you interact with your children, understanding that they're individuals that come with their own personalities and that they do have their own goals internally, right? And from what I learned spirituality, when you come into this world, you do choose how it is and where it is you're going. But sometimes the people around you can deter you and push you on a different path, right? So I want to be that guiding light to be like, okay, tell me what you want to do today. This is how we're playing it. All my children are involved with planning house rules, cleaning, cooking. Like we work as a unit in this home. When I'm doing budgeting, I sit down and say, this is how much came in this month. This is what our expense looks like. To be able to put my daughter through college out of pocket, like she got a 1/3 scholarship, and I had to cover the rest. Like we were like, okay, if I move the money around this way, this is what we can do to make sure she's able to live on campus and receive that like college life that I didn't get to experience. So my kids are very much involved with the process of who I am. Some days I'm just like, okay, I'm tired, I need a break. And my daughter's like, all right, I'll give you 2 days at the hotel. She started working. She paid for me. Next week, I'm getting like 2 days to just chill and lay out in the hotel and eat. She's like covering the whole thing. So you get a different type of benefit when you're open to the aspect of who you are. Your children see that, and it helps them be who they're supposed to be. It doesn't become like a.
Let me tell you, I hear you. I hear we work very hard for our children and we sacrifice, but hun, you also deserve to have somebody for you to fall back on. And you've taken on a whole lot on your own. And that's hard. That's really, really hard. And I guess what I'm trying to convey, at least to the younger, because I don't know, I guess you're younger than me, because if you have a child who's 8, I'm 47. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 35.
Okay, so you're 35. You know, I'm 47. And I want to say this, for so many Black women, it is put upon us to have this hard grinding life, to take care of other people. And it's like, who is there to take care of us? And so while what you've done is so amazing, and it speaks to the resilience of Black women, it's hard. It's hard. It's often thankless, and it's scary because you really are the only person that you can, you know, depend on when you have all of these little people who are looking to you for their lives, basically. And it's like, you know, why did that man think that he could come from the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic, and just come into your house and not work and leech off of you, and then leave you with this responsibility? Like there's got to be a point where we feel like we deserve more than just constant struggle all the time. So I'm not here to, there is no judgment from me towards you or any of the women, because the conditions in which think that you had to thrive, like you had to grow under drought conditions, and that's how so many of us, like, and I'm so glad and grateful that all of you guys came on here and shared your stories, because oftentimes Black women are judged as if we have like we were raised in test tubes or petri dishes, and that our environment didn't have an effect, and we are 100% responsible for everything, and nothing is contextualized. And so this is what keeps happening over and over and over again. And so many of us believe that it's just our job to just take on all of this stuff. And I'm proud of you that you were 15 years old, you became a registered nurse, you put your daughter through college, and you did all of these things. But like, you know, your husband or like somebody should have, like, it shouldn't be your kid that says you need a break and I have a job and I'm gonna pay for a hotel for you. Like, that should have been your partner. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It shouldn't be, you know, like, it's nice, it's wonderful that your daughter did this for you, but your partner should have should do that, should be there to do that for you. And you've for whatever reason, you've taken on all this responsibility and you're going all the time. And like, when do you rest? Like, when is it your time for you? Like, when can you just sit back and not worry, you know? And so that's why I think these conversations are important, because it's like, yes, you've done an amazing job, but tell the truth. Was it hard as hell?
Oh, of course. Like, that's why I said it takes a strong person to be in where I am. Like, it doesn't come easy for me. It takes prayer, it takes meditation, it takes planning. Like, I have schedules and timing and who's supposed to be doing what. So it takes a determination to be like, you know what? This is a decision I made. This is a mistake I've made. But what can I do about it? How can I be better? And to be honest with you, yes, the men in my life, especially my last kid's father, he was definitely involved. I took on his parents that I had no business taking on.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking on all of this stuff. You're taking care. You're not even just taking care of your kids. And this man, like, why didn't he marry you? Like, you're doing all this stuff.
I didn't want to get married.
You're bringing in his family, his parents. He can't marry you? I don't understand.
No, as far as the marriage is concerned, to me, I didn't have a value for marriage because the reward didn't come with it. That's why I didn't marry him. And to me, the reward would have been, okay, you're taking care of about 50 or 60% of the finance issue. He wasn't doing that, right? Your parents are here. When are they moving out? And all of these things that, you know, because I thought, okay, maybe they lost their house because they had a house, they own a house. But when the housing bubble burst or whatever, they lost the house. And literally, I got a call. My parents are losing the house. Marshall's at the door. Can it come over? That was the conversation. So I'm just like, I'm not heartless. I'm not going to go, no, your parents is going to stay in the street. So I was like, yeah, let them come over, let them stay. I know. I've had so many people tell me that's not your place. But I'm like, that's not the person I am. I would rather deal with a little bit of discomfort to help another person than to be like, no, you can stay in the street. So that's how I took on that responsibility.
Girl, you like the giving tree. Do you remember that story?
I do. I read that's what I thought it so many times.
But see, you were the giving tree, and what I'm saying is like, it's too. I mean, and I get it. Like, being married to him would have just been like having 6 kids because it's useless, or 8 kids because you're taking care of his family too. And there's actually a book called Promises I Can Keep, because there was a sociologist who went into the Black community to try to see, like, why is it that women seem to be more willing to have children but not marry, and many of them they said it was because like I can take care of a child, but it's like these like he's like a grown baby, like these are like grown babies, and it's like having two kids, and it's not that they didn't want to get married, it's that they pedestalize marriage, but for some reason like having a baby was, I don't know, different. But also it's that other layer of a lot of these men are just like they're having anchor babies. That's what they are, anchor babies. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I need a couch to sleep on. I want to have regular sex. You know, I want to, I want to have, food and shelter. And they're anchor baby, like they want you to get pregnant so they can have an anchor baby. It's like the same thing. It's like an anchor. So I could have a place, I can have sustenance, I can have somebody taking care of me. I can have a mother who I have sex with, because that's what it is. If they're not providing, they're not working, they're not doing anything, you are their mother and you're just having sex with them. And that's that there's too many men out there who are willing to do that. And yet, no problem. What's Crystalline talking about? Swirling? Why you gotta do all that? There's good men in this community. What are you talking about? Go to another tribe. What are you talking about? Plenty of men. There's nothing to see here. There's no problem here. Come on. You guys.
I mean, like, as far as the choices in men, I think I always struggle to, okay, I'm the one who made a choice to choose that person. So whatever outcome or terrible things that comes out of that situation, I need to be the one to rectify it and
but
deal with
if
it. That's
you
how I
don't have the tools in the first place, that's the point that I'm trying to make. Like if the foundation is shaky in the first place, I sat there and I listened to your whole story. Your mother had a shotgun wedding, your father raised you, and yes, he taught you like practical skills, which is great, like balancing a checkbook, but he had this parade of women, even really young teenage women coming in and out. You didn't see commitment. You didn't see a man caring for and taking care of.
Yeah, you're right.
Any of that. And so like you like, yes, at some point you do have to take responsibility, but like the foundation wasn't there. It's not all you. That's what I'm talking about. Like contextualizing these issues needs to happen, because it's not all on you, is what I'm saying. It's like you got a shitty deal. You got a shitty hand, and people expected for you to like, walk away with the jackpot. But you like, and that's what I'm saying. There's no compassion or empathy. And that's the part that makes me mad. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have personal responsibility. That should happen too. But to act like these things are just happening in isolation or randomness, and that nobody else has anything to do with Black women out here wilding out, that's not right. That's not fair. Like, look at how on a 3-hour conversation and with less than 1,000 people in this live, how many stories did you hear, one after the other, of parents refusing to have essential conversations with their daughters, predatory behaviors, parents, not telling them about basic biological functions, like all of these things that are going on in the 3 hours of story after story after story, and you still think there's no problem here? There's nothing to see here? I'm just crazy?
No, I definitely.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just talking about my critics. That's what they're talking,
Yeah. And I think there's a different aspect. There's the cultural aspect of it too, where men are very much catered to, and as boys, they don't have to learn all these skills. And a lot of what I've run into in my own culture as a West African, right? The men bring the money home. He take care of the bills. but not necessarily like it's taught to be a hands-on dad, to be involved, to be loving, doting towards your wife,
But
right?
you didn't get, but you, so that was your, that was your foundation. But these men came in and fed off of you. Like they took your life
Definitely.
force. They took from you. They didn't pour into you.
No.
Mentally, emotionally, or anything. You poured into everyone else. And what I'm saying is that you deserve somebody to pour into you. Like it shouldn't just be all you.
Here's the thing though, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I shot myself in the foot at some point because I was like, okay, we have these kids. These are the decision you made, right? Now it's just time to focus on raising your kids and, you know, advancing your career, because I do want to go back for my doctorate. That's like in a year or so. And I love psychology. I fell in love with psychology. That's why I kind of work in community health right now. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do my career, because, you know, a lot of the stuff online that I've definitely been hearing, it's like, okay, you got a lot of kids. You got all this baggage with your family history. You don't fit the mold of what like a proper man is supposed to pick up, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe I don't fit the mold of what a proper man is supposed to pick up, or a quality human being is supposed to be. I'm just gonna sit in my little corner, hang out with my kids, go out to enjoy life, and leave it such. Maybe I don't need to be involved with this process anymore, because I may not know how to pick them. One, two, if it is a quality person, they're not picking me because I don't fit the mold according to quote unquote the manospheres and all the others, right? That I come with these kids and this extra baggage and all of the stuff. So I'm just gonna stay in my little corner and try not to do this again.
Okay. Here's the thing. I will cede you that. You don't want to do this again. You're 35 and you are completely capable of having more children. If I were you, maybe you want to get your tubes tied. I don't know, but like 5 is enough. I have 4. 4 was enough. But I think you're onto something in that, you know, taking the time to kind of understand all the roads that got you where you are, so that you can have that healing, because eventually you're still young. Like you said your youngest is 8. You're going to be younger than me when all of your children are grown, that I am right now. You're going to be 45 years old, and there's plenty of life there. So what I would say is that you're right, but okay, take the 10-year hiatus and you be the best. Like cultivate yourself, polish yourself, sharpen that iron, because at 45, you make sure that you're in shape, that you're healthy, that you've met all these goals, and you're going to be so single and available and take care of yourself. You still have a whole lot more life to live. So yeah, pour into those kids, deal with, you know, you got to deal with what you're dealing with. But in 10 years, like, it's on. Just make sure you know, you moisturize and drink your water. And
I do.
And that's what I would say to do. But you guys, it's been 3 hours. This has been such an amazing conversation. I want to thank you so much for being so vivid and candid with all of us, because what you're doing right now is teaching lessons for people who needed to hear the lesson. There's lots of girls today that are still not being taught the lesson, and what we're doing as the older generation is doing our part to change things. And so thank you so much for helping me. All of you guys who called in, thank you so much for helping me change.
Thank you.
You guys, so.
Thank you. I definitely admire what you're doing. You know, it may not be what may come my way, but I'm definitely cheering on the women.
No, it's gonna, you're gonna work on yourself, get the tube, get them thing, you know, get the, you know, get the gateway locked up tight. Okay.
Definitely.
Get it locked up tight because listen, you're 35. Like, this is good news. Like, do all of these things, like work on just getting yourself really like just this polished woman that's gone through all of this. And I can tell you, with grown children at 45, and you're looking good, when you're talking about men of that age range, there's a lot of possibilities. Please don't count yourself out. I don't want you, because you have this helper, like kind of like almost like taking on of burdens of other people. I want you to, I understand where that comes from. I want you to do less of that. I want you to do more of pouring into yourself and less of like putting and taking on the burdens of other people.
I've definitely worked on that with quarantine because I saw all the people I helped, took care of, and doing quarantine just flat out let me down. Yeah. So I had to do my whole circle. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes Black women, we're the fallback girl, we're the beast of burden, the mules. And I'm telling you that there's more to it. Focus on what you need to do. 45, girl, it's on. It's on. Like, get yourself together. But you guys, thank all of you in the chat for staying in. I know it's late for some people. This has been such a healing and wonderful conversation. I'm glad that we had it. Thank you guys. We're not gonna have the two-step because, well, I don't know. It's not on, it's a different format. And plus, like, I'm just not in the space right now to like, I just am in it's a very, I'm in a very introspective space, and I'm also just really just sad. Just sad. Like, this is sad.
Yeah.
This is sad. Like,
gotta be able to push through it.
It's just so much. It's like how do people expect for us to like, it's a miracle that we even like get as far as we get. Like nobody else I know is expected to take all of this stuff on and still like be okay. Like, I don't know, you guys. I think I need to just
meditate.
Yeah, because it's like, it's so much. It's just so much. And it's so you guys, I'm gonna close because this is a lot. I need to, but thank you, hun. Thank you for sharing with me. Thanks everybody for sharing. This was deep. You know, I think I need to like, I don't know, to get a spiritual bath or something. Like, cause I like, it just makes me want to just go out and kill everybody. Like, just just swipe the whole thing out and start all over again. This is like, just swipe the whole thing away. Just make it all go away and start all over again.